We start a brand new week here on Three Man Front. Pat and Molly, Conrad. All the handoffs, always a good thing here.
I said that was fun.
Always is, trying to get everything situated in the very short amount of time that we have to be ready for broadcast. Yeah, Conrad? What's going on?
It's just really dark. We can barely see you, Pat.
It's really bright. We can't even see you. The glare.
I know. I was just having that conversation with Molly. Those on YouTube, I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Good to have you back, Conrad.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm back. And I didn't get sunburned this time.
Oh, good.
First time I've gone to the beach. And
Did you go have a beer with Brian Edwards?
I did not. He was on a different part of the beach because he sent me he actually messaged me on Saturday and said, hey, here's a list of my normal watering holes. I hadn't heard of any of them, and I looked them all up, and he wasn't as close to me as I thought.
They were on the rich part of the beach, right?
Exactly. Correct.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Correct. So, yeah, but him and Alex Condon invited me out to have beers, and I unfortunately didn't want to go and hear all the great stories about him stuffing Grant Nelson at the rim. Didn't need to hear about that.
Well, it's good to hear that him and Condon are boys. That's good. Good stuff. We are starting a brand new week here on Three Man Front. Landrum will be back tomorrow. He has been over at the good luck with that. I don't think that's going to work. That's the whole conversation Molly and I were having during the break.
Remote. Yeah.
So
you can try it though.
Yeah. Conrad thinks he's got it, but we'll see.
He doesn't.
Landrum will be back with us tomorrow at Social Taco. He's taking another day off to recuperate from a long weekend. He was doing the volleyball beach championships, in which TCU, they won the beach volleyball championship over the weekend. So the Horned Frogs.
Good for them.
Yeah, got a national championship down in Gulf Shores. So Landrum back with us tomorrow. But we start today's show talking about some college football news, and it has to do with Michigan head coach Sherrone Moore, because word trickled out this morning that he's going to be suspended 2 games in 2025 as a self-imposed punishment in the advanced scouting case involving Connor Stallions. The NCAA has responded to Michigan's response, which is the final step of the infractions process before a hearing before the committee is slated for June. The most interesting part to me about this story is that he's going to be suspended for 2 games, and I guess they just kind of gave him the option.
He got to pick.
Like, hey, what 2 games do you not want to play or coach? No big deal. You know, back in the old days, the NCAA would slam the school, slam the coach, and they didn't give him any options. But kind of like what happened with Harbaugh, this situation now, he's going to be suspended for the 3rd and 4th week opponents, which are going to be the Chippewas and the Cornhuskers.
Woo!
Those are the 2 games that he will not be able to participate in any team activities. Remember when Harbaugh was suspended? Harbaugh went and hung out at Panera Bread?
Yep.
Didn't that's what he said? Like,
that's
he'd
right.
go
That's where he
and
watched the game, I think.
get some soup and kind of chill out and watch the game. That was kind of like his thing.
Mm-hmm. It was.
So Michigan opens the season against New Mexico before traveling to their high-profile non-conference game against Oklahoma. Sherrone Moore played at Oklahoma, so that was the reason why I guess he chose to go back to Norman, Oklahoma to play as opposed to being suspended. The other difference between the 3-game suspension that Harbaugh had and Sherrone Moore is that Moore will not be able to coach practice in the game weeks. You remember Harbaugh, he could be around the team the whole time.
Yeah, he just couldn't be there on Saturday.
Could not be there on on Saturdays. So very interesting, in which Sherrone Moore gets the 2-game suspension, but he gets to choose which 2.
Molly, do you take this as disrespect towards Nebraska that he picked that as one of the games?
No, he's just scared.
So what it is?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Central Michigan may be going to be an easier game to miss than the Nebraska one.
Probably.
It's just surprising to me.
Well, would it not be the first 2 games of the season?
That's what
That's
I
what I
would
thought
think.
too.
I mean, Oklahoma fans would probably be okay with that since that's who they get in week 2. That's just bizarre to me that you get to pick.
Well, in
I don't get
November, he has Purdue and then Northwestern too. Now, between the 2, he has a bye week, but you didn't want to pick Purdue and Northwestern?
Well, I guess maybe it was too taboo to pick them later in the season. He
I
had
guess
to get them out
so.
in the first half, and we'll just take these. But maybe, because I like to think that you pick Nebraska, The Central Michigan one, we can all make fun of that, but the Nebraska one, I feel like that's his way. But see, I'm taking myself out of a game, like a competitive game
Right.
potentially. Like
Conference game.
see, I'm taking this punishment seriously. Okay,
He's just
sure.
scared.
It's just like when teams used to take the self-imposed postseason ban when they knew they were going to be crap that
Yeah, they were
next
gonna be-
year.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh well, we're not going to make a bowl game anyway, so we'll just take that ban this year because we're not going to be any good.
Yeah.
Gotta
It's
love that.
something else. So once again, Michigan finds itself in a position. The Connor Stallions case is about to be officially in the rearview mirror, but just like all the reporting that was done, how much that Sherrone Moore knew in regards to the situation, because if he didn't know anything, he wouldn't be suspended for 2 games. If this was the NCAA 10 years ago, there would have been a lot more about this. You'd have had significant, probably the national championship taken away.
Yeah. Oh.
It would have been vacated.
Mm-hmm. And now you've gotten what Jim Harbaugh missed a Rutgers game and one other game a couple years ago, and now you're going to get Central Michigan and Nebraska, and
Yeah.
we're going to move on and act like none of this ever happened, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think we're surprised that that's the outcome, but
Staying on the college football theme, we are now just days away. Wednesday is the D-Day in regards to the NCAA and Judge Wilkin. They have to give Judge Wilkin an indication of what they're going to do on the demanded changes of the proposed House settlement. Now, the NCAA and the power conferences continue to take steps towards permitting schools at their discretion to grandfather in roster spots. A final ruling will likely come within the next few weeks, and most in college sports believe that it is going to happen. They just got to kind of massage it a little bit. Now, if Judge Wilkin approves the terms of the deal, which includes a $2.8 billion in damages to former and current college players, schools that opt into the agreement will be permitted to share up to $20.5 million. That does not mean that every school is going to give their student athletes $20.5 million. That's the cap.
yes.
So if you're a school and say, hey, listen, we can share 8 million, whatever, then that's fine. But you can go up to 20.5. The other part of this that it's going to be very interesting is President Trump, because Trump is considering an executive order that could increase the scrutiny of the explosion of the payments that players are currently getting in NIL. Now, the president's interest in all this becomes the conversations last week with Nick Saban and Senator Tuberville
Mm-hmm.
in Alabama as he was here speaking at the University of Alabama. Saban told Trump that he believes the influx of money has damaged college sports.
Isn't one of his grandchildren going to play college something? She plays like tennis or golf or something.
Saban?
Oh, no, it's Donald Trump.
Oh yeah,
Trump.
Kai.
Yes,
Yeah.
going to the University of
Miami.
Miami.
I was about to say, I
Mhm.
just think it's very interesting that when his grandchild is going to college, it's like, hey, maybe we should find a way to help take care of some of these student athletes.
And a matter of fact, because I
Figured
think I
this
brought
out.
it up on the show, I think she's already signed an NIL deal.
I'm sure she has.
Probably.
And the problem with an executive order is it's going to sound good, but just like all these other executive orders that you've seen President Trump sign and put in motion, all of a sudden the courts are going to get involved. And an executive order cannot conflict federal statutes. So if a court finds that college athletes are employees within the meaning of the National Labor Relations Act or the Fair Labor Standards Act, they will be employees. If a court finds they aren't employees under those laws, then they're not employees. And so that's where it just gets kind of interesting from an executive order standpoint. You know, what does that actually mean? So be interesting to see what happens, but we've got till Wednesday, and we'll see if the NCAA attorneys have actually taken the time to come to a conclusion in regards to what they can do and change what they need to change.
So this is where they have to come to terms on what their plan is for roster spots, correct? That is what we are.
Yes.
That is the final part that the judge is waiting on.
And all indications are that they have pretty much come to a conclusion that they are okay with letting the schools kind of piecemeal into this.
I was about to say, we're doing an escalator, right? Where
Right.
each year it's going to, decline a little bit.
So that's the general feeling as of right now. So that is something that needs to happen before Wednesday. So we'll see if Judge Claudia Wilkins determination in this project is coming to fruition in regards to getting this done.
Is she ready to retire?
I don't know. Maybe she likes what she's been part of.
Maybe, yeah, she's really enjoying this case and she's just happy to see it continue on.
Molly, do you realize we've only got 17 minutes left to go on the show?
Already?
Yeah, that was throwing me off a lot this morning.
Oh, I didn't even see that this morning. That was quick.
Oh, we
Good
had
job,
a lot of-
guys.
It was a quick 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Had a lot of storms this weekend. I assume maybe the power went out a little bit here, skipped a beat.
There's no doubt about that. So yesterday at Protective Stadium, the Stallions actually found some offense. They win 26-3 over San Antonio. Stallions led 12-3 at halftime. Case Kukas he was 16 of 23, 166, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That was huge. Sternberger and Amari Rogers had touchdown receptions, I should say. Stallions defense had 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, held the Brahmas to only 178 yards of offense. San Antonio was 0 for 10 on third down. The defense was very impressive. In the previous 3 seasons, the Stallions have never had more than 2 losses, and they've lost 5 in total across 3 championship campaigns. So they keep that 4-2 record intact. So I heard you talking about this morning, Conrad. If they had beaten Memphis last week, they'd have been the only 5-win team in the UFL, and things would have looked a lot different with Houston coming up this week. And it's a big swing game. They've already beaten Houston in Houston, so
Correct.
they currently have the tiebreaker over Houston. But don't look now, but Houston's 3-3. So a win against Birmingham really upsets the apple cart.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could go from being tied at the top to having a 2-game lead if you're the Stallions, if you're able to pick up the win. And I mean, you still have Michigan on the schedule as well, and they're right there at 4-2. And if you saw Bryce Perkins yesterday, and if that's going to continue for Michigan, they're going to be really tough out as well. So, yeah, this is going to be a big one on Sunday, 11 a.m. there at Protective on Mother's Day for the Stallions, kind of create that gap there because you do have the 2 divisions. If people have forgotten, you have the USFL and the XFL division. And right now, Stallions at the top, but the margins are very thin for them right now.
Just stating the obvious, yesterday was fantastic weather. It was 65 degrees. Yep. It was beautiful, but only 9,627 showed up for the game. Birmingham is still 6th in attendance of the 8 teams. It definitely looked better than the abysmal crowd in Houston.
Yeah, you could count the people in the stands at Houston if you pause the screen.
They announced 4,000.
I saw about 250.
250.
Yes, 250 people.
Yeah.
And that may have been, a little bit early, and maybe it filled out throughout the game, but yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah. Skip Holtz, pretty happy in the locker room yesterday as the Stallions got the win 26-3.
Huge shout out. Defense, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Outside of really 2 passes right before half. That was about 70 yards, and they ended up with 178 yards on the day. Unbelievable job defensively. Great job. For offense, it wasn't always pretty, but you know what? We put up some points. We put up 26 points. There you go. You know what? Some it wasn't quite 30, so I don't get to shave yet. You know what? Great job. We talked about being patient, and let's just methodically be able to control it. Some great individual plays.
So Skip didn't tell us on Friday, Molly, that he had this thing going where unless he gets 30 points, he's going to keep his beard. That's what he was talking about in the locker room.
Yeah, he did not tell us that.
Yeah.
Got close, had some opportunities late to potentially crack the 30 mark, but no, I mean, I think, look, you had to play your 4th string quarterback at times yesterday, and he even got hurt and banged up, so you'll take a 20-point win in this one, and while the offense isn't where we want it to be, it's not where it needs to be if you're going to go and win and pull off the 4-peat like we're all rooting for, but you do have the best defense in the UFL, and they've only given up 82 points through 6 games so far, so that is remarkable.
Yeah,
that'll win you some games.
Defense was just incredible. As I mentioned before, they held San Antonio 0 for 10 on third down. Doesn't matter how close they got to that stick.
Nope.
The Stallions was not having it. So the defense, once again, saves them as Birmingham moves to 4-2. And of the 9,627 that was in attendance on the game yesterday afternoon, the pride of Pelham, Alabama, the pride of the University of Alabama, the pride of Clemson University, Dabo Swinney was on the sideline, and he was all decked out in not Clemson gear, but Birmingham Stallions gear. This is what he had to say to the Fox announcers on the broadcast.
I love it. And growing up just south of Birmingham, I was a huge Stallions fan in the 80s as a kid, you know, with Joe Cribbs and Cliff Stout and Jim Smith and Buddy Adelette and Jackie Klein and all those guys. That was my pro team because we didn't have pro sports. So when this came back, it was awesome. And I'm good friends with Skip, and just really what an amazing job he and his staff have done to win 3 championships at any level of football, especially a professional level. It's incredible. So it's been fun to keep up with these guys, and certainly to watch Dion. You know, he's had a great run here, and then Amari coming down as well. It's been fun.
That was Dabo Swinney on the sideline, and he's pretty happy. And love him wearing all the Stallions gear.
It's funny because I've told y'all before about how my best friend doesn't care about sports, correct? So he works, I can't think of the name of the company right now, but Dabo is here doing a speaking engagement today. And it is in conjunction with the company my friend works for. And so over the weekend, he's like, yeah, on Monday, we've got some event going on. We have some public speakers coming in here. And we're like, oh, so who's coming in? So some guy named Dabo Swinney, and he didn't even know who it was. And we're all there like, oh, really? Y'all have Dabo coming in? And so it was cool to see him there at the Stallions because, just casually, he's like, yeah, we have some event with some guy named Dabo Swinney coming. I was like, yeah, he's pretty important person in the world of sports.
Yeah, I would say so.
Especially around here.
So Dabo Swinney there in attendance. Good friends with Skip Holtz, apparently. So that big win for the Stallions at Protect Them. And as Conrad mentioned, and I hate it for the Stallions, I hope a lot of people show up. But
bad timing.
First off, 11 a.m. kickoff in Birmingham, Alabama.
On a Sunday?
On a Sunday. And, oh, by the way, it's Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Take your moms to Protective Stadium.
If you didn't take your mom to Protective Stadium on a beautiful Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, I don't think many people are going to do it at 11 a.m.
I know, but I'm just trying. I'm trying to help. I'm trying, Pat. I'm trying.
I'm just being honest.
We appreciate it.
This is a weird market anyway when it comes
to
walk up crowds to sporting events. We've been talking about this for over 30 years in this town. It's somebody could, I mean, if you literally could. And the other issue yesterday is you had, the Barbers Motorsports Park, which they got like a 20-year head start on the Stallions. And it was a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. And people buy those tickets way in advance before the Stallions tickets even come out. And, so I watched a little bit of that yesterday, and it looked like another, record-setting crowd at Barbers. So.
Well, and we can also be honest that, this coupled with a couple weeks ago when you had the Memphis, arguably the worst team in the league, right, in San Antonio in terms of having it's not a Battlehawks versus Stallions type game where it's, two of the top teams in the league. It's the Stallions and the worst, at least defensively worst team in the league, so.
Well, spring weather in Alabama, as we know, can be really unpredictable, so that's why you need the reliability of a Trane, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. And right now, you can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Trane home comfort systems. So to find out more, go and visit Trane.com.
It is Reaction Monday on the show. We are wide open today. We'd love to hear from you. Any thoughts from the weekend's sporting activities? Whether it's SEC baseball, some interesting things took place up in Knoxville and in Nashville for Alabama and Auburn. Also, we'll get into the Atlanta Braves series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Quite a night last evening for Mississippi Blue Eyes as Austin Riley went yard a couple times. We'll get into all that. Take your calls, your text messages at 205-834-9450 on the courtesy text line. This is Jocks 94.5. 1023 Jocks 94.5 on this Reaction Monday, 1-800-239-WJOX. Courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. As always, you can tweet into the program at the number 3man front on Twitter. And we have a poll question out today that we will get into a little bit later into the show because our friends down at Auburn Undercover, they did a deep dive into a survey to the Auburn fans, and we'll get into that because it's very interesting. A lot of upbeat folks in regards to what this season could look like for the Auburn Tigers. But Molly, I know that we've already getting some tweets coming in about the UFL.
Yeah, so great listener Royal Payne tweets in, what are the biggest reasons the UFL attendance and interest is so low? I still say the season starts too early, get past March Madness, Masters, MLB opening day, and the NFL draft. People need to miss football as the NFL and college football season gets later.
That is not a bad point at all, Royal Payne. That's I think a lot of people would agree with that assessment. And you know, I was told 3 years ago that when this league was launched, I'm talking about the XFL and the USFL, I had a Fox executive tell me off the record that he believed that if we could get around 1 million people watching a game every single week, that was the average viewership for a UFL game, advertisers would be fine. We would be fine. They viewed crowds at football games as like people watching a sitcom being taped. It was not the most important thing. The league's not making their money off tickets sales.
No, it's the television audience.
That's not where they're making their money. But when you do tune into a game like Houston over the weekend, there's no buzz whatsoever. I mean, it might be the absolute best football you've ever seen in your life. But if you're flipping the channels and you come across that game, are you really sticking it out?
No, and I think that's the other problem. And I mean, we've talked about this with the league, but it's, you know, even in the NFL season, you know, how many people are beating down the door around here to go watch a Cleveland Browns game on a Sunday afternoon or something like that in terms of just the quality of players that you have. And I think that's a problem in the league, right? Is you don't have good enough quarterback play in a lot of these situations, just like in a lot of the lower half teams in the NFL. And that hurts the quality of the product, right? Like you want to watch good football. And the reality is, like, unfortunately, there just aren't enough people in the world that are good enough, especially at the quarterback position, to kind of elevate the game and make it more entertaining to watch. I think that's part of the issue.
Let's be honest. It's very difficult. Listen, St. Louis is a different animal. I know that market pretty well.
Yeah.
They had 2 NFL teams. They feel like Stan Kroenke absolutely screwed them, and the city of St. Louis won a lawsuit against Kroenke. And you know, they're having to pay a lot of money to the city of St. Louis. They've got an indoor facility. So if it is inclement weather, they don't have to worry about it. And people show up because they've made it an event. I mean, they're averaging right at 29,000 a game. I mean, you think about what they had going on this weekend in St. Louis, okay? So point out some things. You had the Cardinals and the Mets playing this weekend. It's a pretty big series, okay?
Yeah, Mets are the best team in baseball right now, probably. Yeah.
You had the Battlehawks in town, and before they went out of town and choked it last night in double overtime, the St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets were playing there in the playoffs. But still 29,000 people showed up for a UFL game.
Oh, yeah.
On a Friday night. Whereas in Birmingham, we got 9,627 on an absolutely gorgeous 65-degree Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock.
And you've been the best team in the league for 3 years now.
Yes. I mean, we're not talking about the Memphis Showboats.
Correct.
In regards to just absolutely being trash and they shouldn't even have a team.
And we've also talked about, you know, having the problem of not having the team and the players in the actual cities that they are playing for and building that connection.
It's a major problem
with the community, because you don't feel like you have a connection to these guys. They fly in for the game and then they leave. And that's the only time that you see them. It's not like it was in the first year, right, where everybody was here in Birmingham, and we were very fortunate in that regard. And I'm not saying we need to go back to that, but I've even seen the suggestion of what if you have the USFL division, those teams are based here in Birmingham, and And then the XFL teams are based somewhere in Texas, maybe. And so you at least have some sort of a connection to the players, the teams, the coaches outside of just, oh, yeah, well, that's my city's team, but I never see those players. I never get to interact with them. So, because as we know here, I mean, when we have those events with the Stallions, people go crazy for that because it's their opportunity to actually get FaceTime and interact with these guys.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And so you have to ask yourself from a calendar standpoint, or is it better for you, like Royal Payne brought up, is it better for maybe the UFL to wait a couple weeks? The general thinking, it was just like the Alliance of American Football, the AAF, that lasted halfway through the season when we had the Birmingham Iron. Their thought was, we're going to start playing the very next weekend after the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Like, we want to continue that on. But I think Royal Payne brought up an excellent point. Make people miss football. You know?
What if you started it right now?
Yeah.
Because spring football's gone for Alabama and Auburn. The transfer portal stuff's over. And this is, again, I mean, for us, it's the dead period, right? Where we're waiting for SEC Media Days to start generating that excitement for the season. But then, of course, you have the people, well, you know, my kid plays travel ball all the weekends. We're not going to be able to go.
Once again, it's about the television executives are making the decisions. They're the ones, because they're looking at their broadcast schedule and they see the windows in which they can fit this property in. Hence the reason why on Friday nights, WWE went to Netflix, and so they had an opening. So that's why Fox is playing football games on Friday night. It's TV, just like we see during the college football season. They dictate to you when you're going to be able to watch your favorite Alabama or Auburn based on what television wants. Same thing with UFL. But I do go back to the fact that a couple of years ago, the original plan, especially for the USFL, and I was told this from the very get-go, and Skip Holtz has said in this studio and has told us, that the original idea and premise was to have a local ownership group in Birmingham. And I know the people that wanted to step up and be that ownership group. They were ready to make that happen. But because of the transition or the merger with the XFL and the UFL, that has been put on the back burner. But you have the XFL and the UFL people. They've basically been saying, hey, look, you know, we're still looking at the potential of some expansion cities. Well, I mean, if you're looking around, I mean, these expansion cities better take the place of a couple places that aren't drawing flies. I mean, you've got Houston, Texas, that, if I'm not mistaken, they have a metro population, what is like the 4th or 5th largest in the country.
It's quite large.
And you're drawing 4,000 people. I think they've pretty much given you the indication that we don't care about this.
Yes.
Move along. Put it somewhere else.
No, I think I think you're spot on. And I think we also know that from a promotional standpoint and things, that things could be better. I mean, we were talking, I think, last week about The Rock, right? And how do you have a guy who's one of the more famous people in the entire country, more recognizable figures. I was looking at his social media the other day. He has almost 400 million followers on Instagram. What kind of power does that bring if every week he's posting, hey, this is what's coming? Again, like just those little types of things that, again, I'm sure he doesn't run his own social media. Someone takes 5 minutes, they make a post. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be the face of this league, and you can't even, make a weekly social media post promoting the brand. Like, it's little things like that, I think, could go a long way.
No, it could. And you brought that up to me a couple of weeks ago, and that is staggering. The fact that maybe he got in trouble last year because he cut a deal with the U.S. Army, and he was supposed to make all those social media posts, and the U.S. Army sued him because they felt like they didn't get what they had paid him to do. And maybe that's why he doesn't feel like the need to promote them.
Maybe so, but he promotes everything else. I will just say that on his social media. So what you going to do?
Love to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX, the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. 1036, Jock 94.5. Welcome back in. It's three-man front. Pat, Molly, Conrad. Landrum's off today for Cinco de Mayo. No, actually, he was at the beach all weekend long and taking an extra day before he joins us back at Social Taco tomorrow. The D1 baseball top 25 has just been released moments ago. The Texas Longhorns, they kind of hit a wall here of the last little bit. Arkansas takes them out over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? Very odd to see Texas lose in baseball, but they did over the weekend, but they're still the number one team in the land. Followed next by future Southeastern Conference member, the Florida State Seminoles.
They had their chance.
Florida State, big weekend series against the Clemson Tigers. They were previously ranked number 5. They're now number 2 in America. LSU 3, North Carolina 4, Oregon 5, Georgia 6, Arkansas 7. Auburn is now up to 8th. They had a big weekend against the Tennessee Volunteers. Clemson Tigers 9, Oregon State 10. Vandy, who took 2 out of 3 from Alabama, they come in at number 11. West Virginia, followed by UC Irvine, Coastal Carolina. Tennessee Vols at 15. NC State, Oklahoma 17, followed by UCLA. Troy Trojans, top 20 team, down in the Wiregrass, number 19 this week. Louisville Cardinals at 20. Southern Miss, followed by Arizona. Alabama, they fall 5 spots by losing the weekend series to Vanderbilt. They're now 23rd. The Ole Miss Rebels fall 1 spot to 24, and the USC Trojans, they come in at number 25. To the phones we go at 1-800-239-WJOX. Let's talk to BB. Good morning, BB. I hope your weekend was a good one.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, it was wonderful. A little wet, but that's okay.
That's all right.
I didn't get a chance to chime in on the Bill and Jordan situation last week, and I just feel compelled to put my 2 cents in.
Sure.
First of all, I'm the same age as Bill Belichick. I'm 73. Full disclosure, my husband is 10 years younger than me. Not 20, not 30, not 40, not 50. I think culturally, if this situation, if I were to have a 20-something, a 24-year-old beefy burrito of manhood on my arm and walking around portraying myself as being in some fabulous relationship, not only would I be condemned publicly, but that's borderline child abuse, in my opinion. That situation is so obviously her taking advantage of him. And I think it's really sad because every day that goes by that she is inserted into his life this way, he is losing more capital in terms of his ability to be a driving force, be a speaker, be a person out there to promote what he has loved and done all his life, because he is now only known about his only image is him with this eye candy. And I think it's just so sad that he would put himself in a position to not realize how this damages his ability going forward. I mean, you look at the contrast with how gracefully Nick Saban left college sports. Mm-hmm. And granted, he got a fabulous, walked right into the deal with ESPN. But Nick Saban isn't out there showing his hiney every time he turns around doing stupid stuff, going out on the boat naked on Lake Martin or something. And it's just, you don't see that. He will always have the respect and everyone being able to say that, he will always be the GOAT because he lives that life and he respects it. But I think it's sad that we're in a situation now where Bill has lost this, and he could have been. So even though he left National Football League, not exactly at the top of his game, he still has a lot to offer. And he's thrown that away. I feel sorry for the people that are now dealing with him on the college level. I feel sorry for the players. And truthfully, my projection, I don't think he's going to make it through the year. I think they're going to come up within the first couple, 3 losses of this and say, she's going to get more invasive, and they're going to get fed up. And then he's going to be hung out to dry, and he's going to have to just go quietly into the night and find some little bungalow to hang. And she's not going to give up. She is not going to give up the spotlight. She is going to keep moving on.
It's interesting, BB, because I read over the weekend, Pro Football Talk, they reported that Belichick has been having conversations with the Bears VP of Communications, Brandon Faber, about possibly joining the University of North Carolina staff and handling his PR. So I don't know what that would mean for Jordan, but obviously Belichick and some people around Belichick has at least given him the idea that things are not going well. And he's now having outside conversations outside of his girlfriend in regards to trying to help his PR image, because the general feeling is that book is not going to go very well, and that is going to be a huge black eye for Bill Belichick and his publisher.
And that's probably the case. And unfortunately, I think he's several months, if not years, too late to the game to make that decision about who would speak for him and get the right people behind him. But, we all make our choices in this life. So it'll just be, it will be unfortunate to watch him continue to circle the drain as he gets into his twilight years.
Oh, great conversation. Thank you, BB. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you, BB. Giving us a call at 1-800-239-WJOX. Yeah, I found that interesting, Conrad, how all of a sudden over the weekend stories are now coming out that Bill is reaching out to former NFL VPs of communication.
Yeah, that's certainly an interesting report. I'd be very curious to know, and I think we're all curious what their relationship is like now. Does he talk to Tom Brady? Because as we all remember, Tom Brady got divorced from the most famous supermodel in probably the history of the world to play one more season of football. Now, we can all say whether we think that was a smart decision or a stupid decision or whatever. But again, I'm just saying that shows you somebody that is so laser focused on their career and what their legacy is that they don't have time for the personal stuff. And you could say that that's wrong, but I guess that's just my thing with Bill Belichick is like, if this is the life you want to live, I don't think anyone has a problem with it. But why did you not just retire? Why are you not living on a beach somewhere with Jordan and enjoying everything that you built up over the last 50 years of your coaching career? Why are you now taking this to North Carolina and turning it into it's a media charade now?
So here's the problem that Bill Belichick is finding out the hard way. He's assuming the media needs him more than he needs the media. He needs the media. The media doesn't need him. Now, this is a great side story in regards to the chaos that's going on with Jordan, but because of the fact that he's going to be out pimping his book, he needs the media for that.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the sideshow that's going on with what happened with CBS Sunday Morning, that takes away the focus of what was supposed to be about his book and his career.
Correct. And I understand if you want to generate, and I think, in my opinion, from Jordan's perspective, she is younger, right? She looks at how the social media world works and she's going, man, this is all anybody can talk about. This is good for you. And Bill's probably looking at it as, okay, this isn't what I signed up for. I understand what you're trying to do and getting the attention on it. And it worked, but again, it's so uncharacteristic for somebody that we saw operate a certain way for decades. And now all of a sudden at the end of your career, you're going to do a complete 180 and let your 24-year-old girlfriend run your life. It's bizarre, man. It's bizarre. And again, I just don't understand if this is the life you wanted. You could be doing that on your boat or something.
Yeah. Taking all the Instagrams you want on your boat.
Yep. And no one have a problem with it.
Nope. Not a single soul. Golston Tree Service. So you need to write this number down, 205-337-4018, because as we continue to have these spring storms like we did over the weekend, I know I was in my backyard yesterday and I had a bunch of limbs and thank goodness I didn't have any other trees fall on my property, but I did have a lot of limbs and brush that I had to clean up. If you're having those type of issues, Golston Tree Service, they can knock down and take out those big trees so you don't have to worry about something falling on your house. The number is 205-337-4018, operated by a certified arborist. Golston Tree Service handles those little jobs and those big jobs. So call them today at 205-337-4018. Now is the time to talk about all the things on your property and what potentially could happen. They also have 24-hour emergency storm service, and that's very important because Golston's ready to help you whenever you need the help at 205-337-4018. Certified arborist ready to help you today at Golston Tree Service. More of your calls, text messages coming in as well, courtesy GMC text line. This is Reaction Monday, Jocks 94.5. Think Jordan sings that to Bill as she feeds him at night?
Ugh.
There's something I want to say so bad, but I don't want to get fired on my day back.
Oh, you want to wait a day?
Yeah, I'll wait a day.
1-800-239-WJOX, courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. Let's go down to Greenville, Alabama. Robert joins us here on Three Man Front. Hey, Robert.
Good morning. How y'all doing today?
We're doing great. I hope your Monday is starting off fantastically.
Mine is after the Braves got a big win last night. Not only that, your Cardinals swept the.
That's right. We helped you out, didn't we?
Yeah. Yes, you did. Listen, I got two things right quick. One is, as you know, I'm a proud alum of Troy University. The baseball team is doing absolutely terrific.
Number 19 this week in the D1 baseball poll. Yep, sure.
Right, and they will host Alabama tomorrow at 6 o'clock at Riddle Pace Field. What I wanted to point out is that Troy just took 2 or 3 from South Alabama, and they have some very good wins on their resume. I don't think they're going to host, but I think they could be a strong number 2 seed. And as far as Alabama's concerned, I don't know if any of y'all saw the end of that game yesterday against Vanderbilt, but that was as heartbreaking of a loss as you could have. I mean, you have a chance to win a series, and not only that, but get on the good side of the bubble regarding hosting a regional, and you were at 7-2 with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th. You gave up a home run, all right, fine. And then there were a couple really good pitches that should have been called strikes, were not. They give up a 2-run homer. They line out a hard-hit double play at the top of the ninth, and then the bottom of the ninth was a complete disaster. And I don't understand why Rob Vaughn, their Alabama's coach, who's done a fine job so far, but it's the first time I've been critical of him, why he did not take his closer out. I know he's had a great year. I know he hadn't blown a save all year. Only one inning, one outing on multiple runs given up in an inning in SEC play yesterday. But he just did not have it. And I'm just every time you think you can get on board with Alabama baseball, something like this happens.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Riley Quick looked really great on Saturday.
He did. He did.
And you can't say enough about Riley. I've known Riley since he was a little kid, and Riley overcame that horrible arm injury. He had surgery, and the way that he has bounced back to be the number 2 guy in their rotation and had that dominant start like he did the other night, that was really, really fantastic.
I know. But what about yesterday?
Yesterday was disappointing. I mean, you had an opportunity for a series win, and because of the way Hoover is going to be set up, and I know you're thinking long term, Robert. You're thinking about hosting after the SEC baseball tournament, but you get to Hoover, you're hoping to get a couple of maybe quality wins that could help your seeding standpoint. You basically flip-flopped with the way it was last week. Last week, Auburn was playing on Tuesday, and Alabama was playing on Wednesday. If it started today, Alabama would play on Tuesday, and they would play Missouri, who is still winless in conference play.
Right.
So you're not going to get much out of that. Then you would have to wait, then you'd play on Wednesday against the 8th seed.
Well, Alabama still got Georgia at home and Florida on the road left. And those are 2 real good teams that could pick up some good wins against. But I tell you what, if they're still thinking about what happened on Sunday in Nashville, Troy could give them a run for the money tomorrow night. They met earlier in the year, and Troy lost 3-1. I didn't listen to that game because it was played at the same time as Bama basketball was going on, and But I'm a Troy graduate, so I pull for Trojans tomorrow night. Skylar Meade had this program in the regionals 2 years ago. I think he's done a phenomenal job. I think Auburn has done a great job. I don't want to leave them out. And for a team in a no-lottery state, I'm not one who likes to bring up politics, but for a team in a no-lottery state, I think both Alabama, Auburn, and Troy have all done fantastic this year. It was just it was a heartbreaker yesterday in Nashville for Alabama. And I want to get your assessment of one day of the single elimination format of the SEC baseball tournament. I understand if it's for basketball, because basketball is a single elimination sport, but for baseball, I know they had bring Texas and Oklahoma in, but I just don't know. What do you think about it?
I'm going to reserve judgment until I see it for that week, to kind of immerse myself into it. I understand why they're doing it this year, because they want to include all the teams. Because before, they didn't take all the teams.
Well, if you're playing a
coming to
best of
Hoover.
3, I mean, it's going to take forever.
Yeah, and not to mention
it.
the fact that you do want to save your pitching for the next tournament coming up, which is the NCAA. More of Reaction Monday, your calls, your texts. This is 3-Man Front, Jocks 94.5. Welcome back in. It's hour number 2. This is Reaction Monday. Jocks 94.5, 3-Man Front. Pat, Molly, Conrad with you. Lange will be back with us tomorrow. We'll be at Social Taco. Join us from 10 until 2. I think we're actually going to let Conrad come out tomorrow.
He's finally off of probation.
Yeah. He's got to behave, though.
I think he'll be fine. Hopefully.
I'll try my best. No promises, but I'll try. I'll wear socks. How about that?
Okay.
I won't behave, but I'll wear socks.
That's a good
a step.
trade-off.
Yeah.
That's a good trade-off for y'all. And all of our great listeners that come up there.
We welcome your calls, your texts as well. This is Reaction Monday. We like to get your input on what you experienced over the weekend, things you liked, things you didn't like. One thing's for sure, the University of Michigan, apparently they're okay with giving Sherrone Moore, I'll give you an option. You got to sit out 2 games because of the ongoing Connor Stallions situation with the NCAA. So they have now decided that Central Michigan and Nebraska game, which is weeks 3 and 4 of the season, not weeks 1 and 2, in which they would be playing New Mexico or Oklahoma. They have decided now that they're going to wait, and it will be weeks 3 and 4 against the Chippewas and the Cornhuskers. Stallions win over the weekend 26-3 over San Antonio. They're back at it this Sunday. That is an 11 a.m. kickoff. So I guess Don will be tailgating, what, 7:30? Like breakfast with Don?
I think it just carries over from Saturday night. I think it starts Saturday night, and it's just an all-nighter kind of thing.
Also from the UFL, this happened this morning. They released that the UFL announced that the collective bargaining agreement has been completed with the Players Association of the UFL. So that is signed, sealed, and delivered. They had a little bit of potential strike news at the beginning of training camp, but they have all come to an agreement, and they have signed the collective bargaining agreement. And take this for what you will, because I did a radio interview this morning on Press Box Radio down in Mobile, and they asked me about the long-term viability of the UFL. And I said that it all appears that 2026, they'll be back for another season. And according to this collective bargaining agreement, it was signed through the 2026 season. So no matter the 4,000 people in Houston or the 9,000 people in Birmingham, according to the paperwork that was filed today, that they at least have a deal with the players through 2026.
So we might have a chance for a 5-peat in Birmingham.
Yes, got to get
this one. Yeah,
got to get some things straightened out. Over the weekend, Alabama men's basketball, they have added Yale to its non-conference schedule. The date has yet to be announced. It'll be the first time since 2008 that the Bulldogs and the Tide will play in basketball.
It was just funny because a lot of people were bringing up, if you remember, when Yale knocked Auburn out of the NCAA tournament, Nate Oates went into the Yale locker room after that game and was talking to the coach. And so now everyone's like, man, this is why I went in the locker room. Not because they beat Auburn, but because he was trying to get them on the schedule. But hey, this could be a good recruiting tool if they have another Danny Wolf there that wants to come down south.
Yeah, Alabama won the 2008 game 66-63 at Coleman Coliseum. So that's being reported that those two will play. Also on Friday, the NBA announced that 75 players have been invited to the 2025 NBA Draft Combine. LeBaron Philon, Mark Sears, and Grant Nelson all got invites. Meanwhile, Janai Brim and Tahad Pettiford, they got invites officially on the Auburn side of things. We mentioned baseball. Bama blew it yesterday. They led big lead there in the ninth inning against the Doors. And the Doors scored 4 runs in the final frame to knock off Alabama. So Bama is now 36-12 overall, 13-11 in the SEC. Meanwhile, Auburn baseball, they fell in extra innings at Tennessee in the resumption of Game 2 earlier on Sunday, but bounced back to win their 6th SEC series this season, including the second on the road for the Tigers. Auburn has now won 8 of their last 10 conference series dating back to last season, and are the only team in the league to accomplish that feat.
See, and that's the problem for Alabama this year, just comparing Alabama and Auburn, because I know there's probably people out there going, man, they have same conference record. Alabama has a better overall record. Why is Alabama 23 and now Auburn has risen into the top 10? And it's because the only teams that Alabama's beaten in a series this year in SEC play are Missouri, who hasn't won a single game in SEC play, Oklahoma, who's solid, and then A&M, who has been very wishy-washy at times this year. They don't have the resume of an Auburn knocking off, the likes of the LSUs and the Tennessees of the world. So yeah, Auburn's having a fantastic year, and Alabama is too, but that's clearly the differentiator there between Alabama and Auburn right now.
There's no doubt about that. So Hoover and the Hoover Metropolitan Stadium will be hosting the SEC tournament. A reminder that all teams have been invited. It's 16 teams, single elimination. 6 days, there will be double byes. So if you're one of the top 4 seeds in the SEC baseball tournament, which as of this moment, those 4 teams would be Texas as the 1, Arkansas as the 2, LSU the 3, and Georgia will be a 4 seed. Bama is currently at a 9 seed. They would play on Tuesday. Auburn would play on Wednesday as a 7 seed. So those 2 teams basically flip-flopped as they were last week at this time.
But again, it's just wild. You look at how good of a season each of those programs have had, especially, I mean, Auburn, okay, they're the number 8 team in the country right now. They're 7th in the SEC standings. Like, what can you do? It's just so top heavy. It's just such a loaded conference.
Also over the weekend, and we're just talking to Robert down in Greenville. He is a Troy graduate, and Troy is a top 20 team in baseball. They're at number 19 this week. Did you see where their former quarterback, Matthew Caldwell, he signed with the Texas Longhorns over the weekend? He is set to join the quarterback room led by Arch Manning. Before Sunday, Texas only had 3 scholarship quarterbacks on its roster, and 2 aside from Manning were both young and inexperienced. They were redshirt freshmen. So now you look at a veteran quarterback coming into that room with Matthew Caldwell, veteran transfer quarterback. He's a 5th-year senior. He closed last season as Troy's starting quarterback. So very interesting move. I would love to see how much NIL he's getting.
Oh, just a Lamborghini, I'm sure. That's their thing down there. So, okay, so he's a 5th-year senior, so this is it for him.
Yes.
Assuming. Okay. Because that's an interesting move, because then you have an interesting situation next year if you're Texas, because we all assume Arch is going to go and be a first-round pick in the draft. And so you have the 2 young guys. Maybe you see something from them. We know Lacey, the Saraland quarterback, is planning to go to Texas as well. So I was just wondering if this was a move where you're looking for somebody to maybe fill in for next year. But I guess that's not the case with him being a 5th-year senior. But hey, depth is important. And as we've seen for Texas the last couple of years, right, we've gotten to see Arch because Quinn Ewers got banged up a couple of times. And, hopefully that doesn't happen to him this year. But good to have that insurance. Good for him. He gets to go and live a lavish lifestyle for the next year.
1-800-239-WJOX. If you have a thought from the weekend, we'd love to hear from you. Let's go to Christopher. He joins us next on 3-Man Front. Hey, Christopher.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a beautiful day outside.
Absolutely.
I see Landrum found a way to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, huh?
Yeah, and it's also his birthday today, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
So
Yeah, it is.
Man.
It's a double whammy.
Happy birthday, Landrum. If you happen to be listening, happy birthday to you.
Oh, he is. He's sitting at home right now on his back deck listening with Gringo. Yep.
Right. So, hey, Conrad, man, look, I really hope that they let you off house arrest, because I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. I have yet to catch you at Social Taco.
Yeah, so he'll be there tomorrow.
I will be there, Christopher.
Yeah, we're going to let him out of the office tomorrow.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to that. So, this quick thing here. The situation with Coach Belichick and Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
One question is, I'm not a head coach. Don't have that kind of experience, but usually, aren't you supposed to take away from distractions when you're trying to lead a program?
You're supposed to. I mean, based on the tenets of him and Nick Saban, of what they preached all those years as head coaches, the distractions, that noise outside of your program, that was what they always preached, to make sure that their players weren't paying attention to any of that. And now Bill Belichick is creating that type of noise within his own program.
Right. And again, I mean, I've followed him for years, very successful. I hate for his legacy to, I don't necessarily say it's going to suffer, but again, as Miss Beebe said, big difference between him and how Nick Saban is handling his way of stepping down and doing things. I mean, it's just a stark difference in how they're handling that. But anyway, I got another question for you. So do you think during the season, the media is going to give Jordan the Taylor Swift treatment? Because they'll pan the camera on her every second they get.
If she is sitting somewhere where she is visible, absolutely.
Well, and especially, I mean, imagine this, you're in a North Carolina game or watching a game and they're struggling. You don't think they're going to make a point to show her and talk about, hey, is this all this distraction causing these problems?
Right. No, definitely. I definitely could see that happening.
Absolutely.
That'd be a story. Well, all right, guys. Hey, that's all I really had, man. I appreciate y'all. Love listening to you guys every day. Hopefully y'all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Christopher. Hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you, man. Appreciate it very much. Christopher, been joining us the last 2 Tuesdays. Hope you can do that as well tomorrow. Take a long lunch. Your boss will understand. Say, hey, I'm going to hang out with Conrad in Landrum. I'll let you do it.
And Pat.
Yeah, it's It's more.
Pat's selling himself short today. You're very humble.
It's more you and Landrum than me. Last week it was Molly and Landrum.
Molly's been the Miss Popular the last couple of weeks. She's just getting free stuff every time she goes out there now.
I can't believe it. Everyone's so nice.
Yeah, for tax purposes because she's got to claim all that.
Right.
So
it's really going to come back to hit her next year.
Well, that's why we're going to make her stay in studio tomorrow. So.
And I want Conrad to have the opportunity to go.
Yep.
No one's going to have free stuff for me, though.
Well, they might. You never know.
Maybe so.
So last night in Atlanta, it's kind of a stormy night the night before. A lot of rain delays. The Los Angeles Dodgers wrapped up their series with the Atlanta Braves. This is the way it sounded right here on the Jocks Radio Network.
Over the course of the 64 innings that they have played in the 7-game winning streak, they have not trailed for one single inning. They've been ahead for 51 innings and tied for 13. That is remarkable. 1-2, and Riley charges one up, soaring high into the heavens and disappearing into the seats. And the Braves take the lead on the 2-run homer by Austin Riley. 1-1 to Riley. And Riley hits another one deep to center field, to the wall. Off it goes! His second home run of the game, and he's breathing fire here early on this Sunday night versus the Dodgers. 4-0 Braves. And the Braves are one strikeout away.
And Rysell is pumped up.
So is his crowd. One strike from a win versus the Dodgers. 0-2. Ready to bring it. Cuts it loose. Got him swinging. Strike three. Braves beat the Dodgers in a thriller here in the final game of this series. They snap a 3-game losing streak, and in the process, end the Dodgers' 7-game winning streak.
Big win for the Braves last night, 4-3, 842 feet of home runs by Austin Riley. That was the difference as they salvaged Game 3 of the series. The Braves had been 0-5 against the Dodgers and snapped a string of 7 consecutive losses to Los Angeles that began last season. 6 o'clock tonight on Jocks 94.5. Right-handed pitcher A.J. Smith-Shawver, 1-2 on the bump for the Braves, 4.26 ERA. He's going to face Cincinnati's Brady Singer, who is 4-1 on the season, 3.24 ERA. In tonight's opener of a 4-game series between the Braves and the Reds.
Can help you out a little bit.
Yes, they could.
Reds are pretty solid right now. Granted, I think they did this last year, right, where they had a pretty hot start to the season, and then they just kind of sputtered out towards the end.
That is so interesting that you said that, because I have in front of me exactly last year at this time.
Do they have the same exact record?
Everyone's record and how many plus or minus games they are as of this moment.
Oh, for every team?
Every team.
Oh, looky there.
Who do you think off the top of your head has the best improvement from last year to this year? It's plus 8 games. 8 games better than what they were last year at this time.
It's either the Tigers or the Giants. I'm going to go with the Tigers.
I think it's the Tigers. What?
It is not.
Oh, man.
Is it the Giants?
It's not the Giants.
Is it the Mets?
It's not the Mets.
Then who is it?
It's the Padres.
Oh, yeah. They did start off bad last year.
Padres are plus 8. They're 8 games better than what they were last year. Who do you think's the worst is?
Ooh, Baltimore.
Yeah.
Minus 9.
Yeah.
They are 9 games worse than what they were last year. The top teams, Padres plus 8, Giants plus 7, Mets plus 4, Tigers plus 4, Marlins plus 4, D-backs plus 4, Astros plus 4, White Sox plus 3, Dodgers plus 2, Mariners plus 2, A's plus 2, Reds, Rays, Cardinals all plus 1.
The A's are only 2 games better than they were. I mean, the A's are like they would be a playoff team today.
The Cubs, Angels, Blue Jays are even, exact same records than what they had last year at this time. Meanwhile, the Nats, Royals, Guardians, Rangers, all 1 game worse. Red Sox, Yankees, 2 games worse than what they were last year. Rockies, Brewers, 3 games worse. Pirates, Phillies, 4 games worse. Twins, 5. Braves, 5.
Mm.
And then the Orioles at -9.
Orioles are rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Atlanta currently tied with the Nats for 3rd place in the National League East, 6 games back. More of your calls, more of your texts. This is Reaction Monday, Jocks 94.5. $11:20 on this Reaction Monday. Love to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX, the courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. Let's go back to the phones. Larry on this Monday joins us on Three-Man Front. Hey, Larry.
Hey, guys. Enjoy the show always. Want to throw a question. Obviously, with the lady in the house, but I know Landon's not there. But with all due respect, I'm just want to throw this out there, Pat, because I know you've been in the media a long, long time. But with respect to what took place the other night with President Trump and Coach Saban, and I saw in a headline, but I didn't finish the article about him speaking with him regarding the portal or the NIL, especially you, Pat, as long as you've been around, what do you think it's truly going to take to make it fair? And I know that's a broad question, make it fair in reference to college football with smaller schools, respectfully to the SEC, but just want to throw that out there, get your opinion, guys, and love to listen to the show.
Thank you, Larry.
Guys. Appreciate it.
Larry, unfortunately, I don't have an answer to the being fair to the smaller schools because I have been on record. And listen, my alma mater is classified as one of those schools because they're not a Power 4 school. And I'm talking about UAB and been a UAB Blazer my entire life. I just graduated a son on Saturday who's, a UAB alum now. It's going to basically, you're going to need to take the Power 4, and the Power 4 needs to have their own basically classification. That's it. Because then at that point in time, then you could take the rest, the Troys, the Jacksonville States, the UABs, especially from a football perspective, and it can be much more competitive.
Well, and I just think if you're a fan of one of those programs, you would probably prefer to have an opportunity in a different league, however it ends up sorting itself out, to legitimately compete for a national championship. Because I think we can be honest with ourselves. Those teams, you're not winning a college football playoff against the Texases and Alabamas and Georgias of the world and Ohio States of the world. That's not going to happen. And so I understand for the short term, I think that would sting for a lot of people. But I think long term, and that's what you have to look at here, I don't see a better option than that.
Listen, we've had Dr. David Ridpath on this program, and he has been very outspoken over the years in regards to the NCAA and the changes that need to take place in intercollegiate athletics. And he is very quick to point out that he's a professor at Ohio University. And Ohio University, whether you're Miami of Ohio, or Western Michigan, Central Michigan, or any of those other teams in the MAC, they will never win a national championship in football.
Nope.
It will never happen. But Ohio has won a national championship before in a lower classification, just like Jacksonville State has won a national championship in a lower classification. And that takes nothing away from the fact that they were national champions.
No,
it just happened to be a
best.
lower classification.
Yep.
So to me, let the Power 4 go do whatever they want to do. And I know the lower leagues, the Troys and the UABs of the world, they're going to say, well, we need basically to be able to feed off of those Power 4 schools to help their budgets, because you do. That's why you have a UAB going to Tennessee this year. They played at Arkansas last year. Those are money games. They have to play those games because if not, they wouldn't have the budget to sustain an athletic department. We're at a tipping point in college athletics. And unfortunately, the way that it has been done in the past will not go back. The genie's out of the bottle. And moving forward, you're going to have a situation to where those smaller schools are probably going to have to cut themselves together, and they will have to be a lower classification, at least in football. Now, basketball, a completely different animal, whole different conversation. But from the football perspective, the Power 4 needs to go off, take these 60 or 65 teams, because I do think that there are some teams. Listen, there are some teams in the Southeastern Conference, and those that are hearing my voice right now, you can kind of figure this out yourself. There are certain teams in the SEC that honestly do not have the money to be able to compete at the higher echelon of the conference. They just can't. I'm not saying that they should be kicked out of the conference, but let's just call it the way it is. There are certain schools that cannot offer NIL.
Mississippi State will never be able to offer the same NIL that Texas does.
That was Conrad that said that, by the way.
It was me that said that.
That was Conrad.
I got the cowbell hill here to prove it. But no, I mean, that's the reality of the situation, though. It may sting to hear that, but doesn't change the fact that it's true.
Don is next on Three Man Front. Don, I hope you're well on this Monday.
Yes, sir. How's everybody doing on a Monday?
We're doing very well. How was the Stallions game yesterday? Did you have a good time?
Pat, yes, sir, buddy. And I thought there was more people there than they announced when I was texting you yesterday. That looked like a halfway decent crowd. Not great, but not as bad as I tell you what's going to be bad is they playing on Mother's Day Sunday at 11 o'clock in the morning. You guys, the first show talked about and everything. I think they should start about in February, 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, personally. Because, I mean, this time of year in Birmingham, you got everything going on. They went head-to-head with the Barbers race yesterday, went head-to-head with Talladega 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Went up against Alabama and Auburn in the basketball tournament. I mean, they just can't get a break. And now I'm hearing it's going to rain again Sunday, so they just can't get a break.
No, they can't, and that's unfortunate because TV dictates all this. It's not like the Stallions.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, Stallions have anything to do with what time they're playing and what's going on. But you're right, Don, because in the springtime, you've got Talladega, you've got Barbers, you've got the Regions Golf Tournament. I mean, there's a lot of outdoor activities that have already got about a 20-year head start. Of course, Talladega's a lot longer than that. But they've got a big head start on this upstart spring football league, and it's very difficult for people to change what they've done in the past, which is go to Talladega and go to Barbers and go to the Regions. So,
yeah. And speaking, guys, speaking of the Regions, we've had some new people come up to Social Taco, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Dr. Mel's coming back. Y'all just talked to my new friend Christopher. Me and BB and everybody, and I think we'll have a return to PG. I think PG just got back from his 50th high school reunion. PG, if you're listening, hope you had a safe trip back.
Good.
But, hey, Pat, got a question about the baseball tournament.
Yes.
All these different polls and everything, Cole announced one poll this morning that had Georgia number 1 and had Auburn number 5. I mean, there's so much difference.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Baseball America, you've got the D1 baseball. That's the one that I quoted earlier was the D1 baseball poll, and that's the one that's got Auburn 8 this week. In the D1 poll, I'm sitting here looking at it now. You got Texas 1, Florida State 2, so FSU Dave's pretty happy this morning. LSU 3.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's already had an argument with me about the poll. Yeah, he's already had an argument with me this morning.
North Carolina's 4, Oregon's 5, Georgia's 6, Arkansas 7, Auburn 8, then Clemson and Oregon State round out the top 10, according to D1 baseball.
Okay, so if Auburn is number 8 in the top 8 and everything, do you think they could possibly host not only a regional but a super regional?
Possibly. I mean, they make a little noise here the last couple of weeks and maybe in Hoover. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's on the board.
Well, their last 2 series, I mean, I'm not knocking your Ole Miss Rebels because they're number 24, but we do have South Carolina first at home. And
that's an easy.
And I think if we could sweep them and then win 2 out of 3 against Ole Miss, we're sitting pretty.
They're very, very good. It's quite a turnaround. The transfer portal was Auburn baseball's biggest friend this year. They really went out and made some good acquisitions.
Absolutely. That kid that pitches on Friday night, I believe his name is Dutton, has had a great year.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Did you think both benches should clear in the Tennessee Auburn game? Did you think that was a bunch of nothing?
Yes,
or?
I already told. Yes, let me explain that play because I don't know if everybody saw it or not. It was in the suspended game for Saturday night. It was 4-4 on the top of the 11th. Auburn tried to say basically kind of a safety squeeze. The guy was basically trying to steal home plate. Everything. The pitcher covered the plate because the catcher basically had to pitch it to the pitcher. And Pat, I mean, I know all he had to do was tag the guy. The guy was going to be out about 3 feet, okay? But he pushed the guy. When he tagged him, he shoved him. So, yes, I do. And I mean, Miss Constance might be listening, and I just do not like that coach.
You don't like Tony V?
He's a jerk. No, I do not. And I think his players play like his personality. They got and Pat, I don't know if you remember, we had a benches clearing thing 2 years ago up there.
Oh, that was the bat.
A home run.
That was the bat slinging situation, was it not?
Yes, that's when that jerk threw the bat at my dugout.
I do remember that. Yep.
And everything. So no, I don't like the guy at all. Okay.
Okay. Very fair. All right, Don.
Anyway, guys,
thank you.
See everybody tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Don. All right, here's Tony Vitello, the head baseball coach of the Tennessee Volunteers, when asked about the little back and forth between the Auburn Tigers and the Tennessee Vols.
I pat myself on the back and everybody else for keeping composure because our best player got thrown out of the game in an elimination situation. for exchanging words with a guy. Two adults competing in a league, which, for the record, everybody gets to chime in this league more than anybody on Twitter and from the stands and everything else. So if anything, these guys that are actually out there in between the lines are probably going to say some things to each other and probably should be granted that right.
That's Tony Vitello. His thoughts on the back and forth. What did you think?
Maybe there's an angle of this that I'm missing, Pat, but from my perspective, I thought it was a nothing. And you could say, oh, well, he didn't have to tack him that hard. Okay. These are two teams that are carrying over an extra inning game from the day before. They're about to have to play again. They probably don't like each other very much. Don brought up this morning a situation from a couple of years ago where I think he said a Tennessee player, I don't know if he was doing a bat flip or if he had drawn a walk and he like threw a bat kind of at the Auburn dugout, and that had some jawing on going. So maybe there's some bad blood for the past couple of years as well here. But I mean, if you want to call that a shove, I'm sorry. He didn't extend his arms. He didn't push anybody out of the way. He took it. He probably tacked him a little hard, but it's wild to me, the people that complain about how soft people are, and then this is the kind of thing that gets people riled up. This is the kind of thing you think is too overboard. This is too tough. Get up. I never want to hear somebody complain about LeBron flopping if you're complaining about this. I'm sorry. It's weak.
1-800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450 on the courtesy GMC text line. Maybe the Auburn and the Tennessee player were just talking about the Nico situation and Joe Aguilar. Maybe that's what they were discussing.
Hey, did you get more NIL since Nico left? Is that how that worked? That trickled down to baseball?
1-800-239-WJOX. Now is the time to check out Courtesy GMC in Trussville. The very best in inventory and services found right off of I-459 exit 32. Courtesy GMC. Right now, you can save a ton on brand new vehicles like the Yukon XLs, the Acadias. How about a Terrain? Trucks like Sierras and Canyons. And their pre-owned inventory is the deepest you're going to find anywhere in Central Alabama. Courtesy will beat any deal on any new GMC. They're going to tell you that you need to go to courtesybirmingham.com and you need to find the vehicle that you're looking for. And then you need to compare. You need to go to other dealerships, go to their websites, and you're not going to find a better deal on a brand new GMC than Courtesy GMC. Compare the dealerships. No one's going to beat what they can do and deliver to you, not to mention the fact they're the best service-friendly folks that you're going to find anywhere, from the body shop, the service center, get your oil changed, get your tires rotated. And if you do have a little fender bender, the award-winning body shop, they're ready to serve you as well, right there at Courtesy GMC. Go see them off of I-459 in Trussville, exit 32, or check out their inventory at courtesybirmingham.com. So over the weekend, it was the running of the Kentucky Derby. Oh, man, it's the greatest 2 minutes in sports. At least that's what they tell us what it is. This is the way it sounded on NBC.
Journalism is on the move as they turn for home, and Sovereignty is coming with him on the outside. The two of them go right by with a furlong to run. Journalism and Sovereignty, nose to nose, down to the last 16th of a mile. Sovereignty has taken the lead. Journalism is second toward the inside. Baeza is third, but it will be Sovereignty to rule the Kentucky Derby. Journalism and Baeza were next. Final Gambit was fourth. The final time was 2:02.31 seconds.
It's shocking that journalism loses in 2025.
I saw that a lot this weekend too.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
That was too easy.
It was. That was a very it's a very popular, topical, but
yeah,
very popular joke.
Interesting name for a horse.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we all know, right? There's some very bizarre names every year, but yeah, journalism was. There was another one that was like publisher, right, or something like that. I was like, okay, so we're going with a writing theme maybe this year.
I thought about you this weekend, Conrad, because NBC Sports host Mike Tirico had to exit the network's coverage of Saturday's Kentucky Derby shortly after it began because he had a significant reaction to a nut allergy.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
So Tirico was not even part of the broadcast. They had to usher him away.
Oh, dang. I thought you were going to say it was like a Shaq thing where he had to waddle off and go to the bathroom.
No.
This is much worse. Okay.
Tirico looked and sounded unwell during his brief period on the air, and he was replaced by Ahmed Fareed.
So I never need to go to the Kentucky Derby then because I'm allergic to peanuts. I'm also, guess what I'm allergic to? Horses. So probably not a good place for me to ever go.
That's interesting.
Derby. Yeah.
Huh. But NBC Sports drew its most watched Kentucky Derby since 1989. Sovereign's victory over journalism averaged 17.7 million viewers. That's up 6% from last year. The audience peaked at 21.8 million. So a huge audience tuned in. Also, the most important aspect to this to me is that Churchill Downs announced that wagering from all sources on the entire day of the Kentucky Derby totaled $349 million was wagered on the Kentucky Derby. That broke the previous record by over $16 million.
Wow. Well, we contributed to that at the beach.
Did you?
Didn't get anything out of it, but we contributed to that.
Who'd you pick?
Sandman.
I did not wager on the Kentucky Derby.
Really?
I did not.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, we had a group discussion. We all decided that we were going to take a horse, and we went with Sandman.
Last time I wagered on a horse was at the Birmingham Turf Club.
Really? So you've never done that on the Derby or any of the?
Have not.
Interesting.
Nope.
It just seems like such a crapshoot. I mean, I guess gambling in general is, but especially when the conditions of the track the way that they were. I outside of the Kentucky Derby. I don't watch horse racing, so I don't understand how maybe there's certain horses that are maybe better built for those kind of tracks as opposed to if it's a dry dirt track. But it was interesting, to say the least. Xavier Legette was probably the highlight for me in the Canadian tuxedo. He was having a big time.
Did I understand, was Aaron Rodgers there?
Oh, Aaron, he was at.
He must have. I think it was an event the night before, but he was in Louisville.
And
was he
people,
not?
yes, and somebody
He's got
a
a
wedding
ring
on, and people think that he went and got married.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, he's got a wedding. He's got a ring on his left index finger.
Correct.
Or ring finger, I should say, not
Yes,
index.
ring finger.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that was I saw that. Yeah. Didn't see Bill and Jordan there. I thought that would have been a good opportunity for them to get some good PR.
Yeah, so that's the scuttlebutt that maybe Aaron Rodgers is either engaged or he went off and who's he dating now?
Maybe that's why he can't. Couldn't
no
tell you.
idea.
Maybe that's why he hasn't made a decision yet. He's too busy with other things.
Maybe he's dating a 24-year-old and maybe she's trying to give him some advice on what he should do.
Oh, it's Brittany.
Who?
Brittany. We've talked about this before.
Oh, like
but no one knows who she is.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not like another famous person or anything like that. Yeah, that's certainly interesting.
Yeah, so that was the big rumor out there in which a picture surfaced of him wearing a ring on his ring finger. Maybe it's a promise ring from Mike Tomlin that he'll be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe that's what it is. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Hope it'd be a promise ring for someone else, but that's.
All right, so right in the middle of the Kentucky Derby, all of a sudden, in the middle of the coverage, we were able to hear this music, and it was everywhere. Take a listen. If you're familiar with that music, NBC Sports announced Saturday that it will officially use the John Tesh composed theme Round Ball Rock in its coverage of the NBA, which resumes this fall. The announcement, which came in conjunction with a commercial during Saturday's Kentucky Derby, celebrated the theme music, would seem to end the brief uncertainty surrounding whether NBC and John Tesh would come to an agreement allowing its use. The theme music for all 12 seasons of NBC's NBA coverage from 1990 to 2002, Round Ball Rock has continued to be a semi-regular presence on sports TV because John Tesh, he basically farmed it out. He allowed Fox to purchase it for the last few years, and they've aired it during their college basketball coverage. And so now it's coming back on NBC as they will have the broadcasts beginning this fall.
It must be nice to be able to make a theme song and just shop it around for decades and continue to profit of it. It's like being it's like a syndicated TV show, except it's a theme song.
Mm-hmm.
He basically allowed NBC, and of course they paid for it, but during the Olympics, every 4 years when the Olympics have the basketball,
they get to use it.
They get to use it.
I would be fascinated to know how much, I guess, what that transaction looked like.
But it's been 5 years. 5 years Fox has used it for their college basketball.
Well, I was about to say, we talked about it in the last couple of months. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. Maybe it was when they first initially talked about bringing it back. But
also, NBC announced over the weekend that they're going to do something that you just do not see anymore when it comes to the NBA. And you watch a whole heck of a lot more of the NBA than I do. They are going to bring back the player introductions.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah, okay. I'm all for that.
That was something that NBC did all the time.
Yeah, that's great.
So you'll get to hear the PA announcer, the music, the fanfare, the introductions.
I will say
NBA.
That is one of the coolest things, going to an NBA game and watching, because I know, for example, like when I've been to Hawks games and stuff over in Atlanta, the way that I guess like the graphics that they have the capability to put on the floor, and they'll have like a door opening on the court and the play, like it's crazy the production values that go into all that stuff. So I think that's a very smart move to start broadcasting that again.
So it's now official. Round Ball Rock is coming back to NBC this fall. We'll get to your text messages next. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. Today at noon, President Donald Trump plans to announce that Washington, D.C. is going to host the 2027 NFL Draft. The announcement is expected to be made in just a couple of minutes with Roger Goodell and Commanders owner Josh Harris. The early idea is to host the draft on the National Mall. Now, how cool will that be?
That would be awesome.
That's really cool.
Yep. With reflecting pools, and then you've got the Capitol on one end of the mall, and you'll have the Washington Monument on the other end of the mall. So President Trump should make that announcement coming up at the top of the hour as he and Roger Goodell and Commanders owner Josh Harris. It's been a big last week or two in the nation's capital with the big announcement that the Commanders are going to build a brand new stadium on the old site of RFK Stadium. So just a lot of positive things happening, especially when you have a player like Jaden Daniels. Doesn't take much to get those fans fired back up. So a big announcement coming up soon.
Well, over the weekend, Wallace State baseball closed out the regular season with a 4-game sweep of Southern Union and a 6-game winning streak overall. Wallace softball split their series with Southern Union, but they wrapped up the ACCC regular season championship. Both baseball and softball will now head on to their conference tournaments this weekend. For more information on those, go visit them online at athletics.wallacestate.edu.
All right, so let the debates begin. Molly just tweeted out moments ago the brand new post-spring practice top 15 by three-man front. We gave you one right after the national championship game, and because of the transfer portal musings and things happen with roster management, we are now finally to the point to where we can release our top 15 according to Molly, Conrad, Landrum, and myself. We take a compilation of the four of us. We give each other the top 15 schools, and then based on a point system, we come up with the following. At number 15, the Ole Miss Rebels. 14, Kansas State. 13, Miami. 12, Michigan. 11, Illinois.
Woo! BLM will be happy about that.
South Kakalaki comes in at number 10. LSU, number 9. At number 8, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. At number 7, Conrad tried his best to get Alabama higher in the rankings, but Molly, myself, and Landrum
Y'all are some haters.
pretty much canceled that out. Bama is at number 7 in the three-man front post-spring top 15. Coming in at number 6, Oregon. Now your top 5 according to three-man front. The Fighting James Franklins come in at number 5. Kirby Smart's Georgia Bulldogs at number 4. The man that was on the sideline at Protective Stadium yesterday, no, not Skip Holtz, Dabo Swinney, Clemson, number 3. So now the top 2 teams, according to three-man front. The number 1 team in America, the Texas Longhorns, and the Ohio State's number 2.
So we get 1 versus 2 to start the season.
That's right.
Looky there.
So that poll will change
there.
very quickly.
Yeah, it will.
So a couple things SEC wise, you've got Texas number 1, Georgia number 4, Bama 7, LSU 9, South Carolina 10, Ole Miss 15. So those are your SEC representation.
So I don't know if you have all of the data in front of you right now. Did any of us include Auburn in our top 15?
Yeah, hold on one second. I will pull that up. I believe the answer to that is yes.
Shocker, I did not, but that was one of the teams that I
didn't
had
either.
in consideration.
Yeah.
No one. I take that back. No one had Auburn in the top 15.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, what about Florida?
In the top 15?
Yeah. Just from other outlets, I've seen them
I might
getting a
have
lot
had
of
them
hype.
at 15. I can't remember if I had them in there or not.
No, you
Okay.
did not. No one did.
Okay.
Okay.
I take that back. I am so sorry. Somebody did have Auburn in their top 15, and it was me.
Really?
I
Did
was
you have
the
them
only
at
one.
15 or what?
14.
Okay. Okay.
I was the only one. Landrum didn't, Conrad didn't, Molly didn't. Bunch of haters.
I had Nebraska. No, I'm kidding. I did not.
Well, you left Alabama off your list altogether, Pat.
No, I had Alabama at number 7. I did not have Ole Miss in my top 17, Conrad. So take that in your pipe and smoke it.
I also didn't have them in my top 7, 15, whatever. I did not have them in there. So y'all must have had Molly and Landrum must have had them up there pretty high then. Or at least, in like
Landrum had them in the top 15, and Molly had them in the top 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was about to say, I think the only team I voted for that didn't get in was Arizona State, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's tough. I'll tell you that.
It is.
Because there's so many different directions that you could go in without seeing.
Landrum had LSU number 4.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Sure did.
So, okay. So were Texas the only SEC team ahead of them?
Landrum had Ohio State, then Texas, Penn State, LSU, Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama at 9.
Wow.
I have to talk to him tomorrow.
South Carolina 10.
Okay. Wow. So Landrum expecting big things out of LSU this year.
Molly had Alabama 7. I had Alabama 7. Conrad had Alabama number 1.
I did not. I had them number 4.
Conrad had the Ohio State number 1. Me and Molly had Texas number 1.
Did Ohio State or Landrum have Ohio State number 1 as well? Oh, well.
Clemson will get a lot of love in the preseason magazines.
Yeah.
Ton of love.
They will be right up there. Yep. Yep, they will. And I don't think, well, I would just say I'll be very interested to see where we ultimately get Alabama on a lot of these lists as we get closer to the season, because after last season, a lot of people had them down, 15, 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
Now they started to slowly rise up. A lot of people's, I don't think anybody's going to have them maybe as high as I did, but just interesting if they're a top 10 team going into the season, because after last season ended, I think we all expected that to not be the case.
Yeah, and I think when we get to Atlanta, you're going to have a lot of people give Auburn a lot of love.
Mm-hmm.
I think Auburn and South Carolina are going to be the two teams that are going to get a lot of votes. A lot of people are going to have them much higher than what a lot of other probably preseason magazines will have them.
I think LSU is going to get a lot of love too. I think a lot of people really like what they did in the portal.
12 4-stars they have signed in the portal. 12.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Not bad.
We're halfway home on this Reaction Monday. Love to hear from you. We'll get to your text messages next. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. It is 12 noon. Welcome back in. It's three-man front. Jocks 94.5. Pat, Molly, Conrad with you. Landry will be back with us tomorrow as we're live at Social Taco. Big news in college football earlier this morning. Michigan is expected to suspend Sherrone Moore 2 games for the 2025 season. Involved in the Connor Stallions case, the NCAA has responded to Michigan's response to the NCAA infractions case. This is basically the final step before the hearing in June. But the kicker is that he's going to have 2 games in weeks 3 and 4 that he will not be able to attend or be at practice for those 2 weeks. That's against Central Michigan and Nebraska. So a 2-game suspension for Sherrone Moore. Stallions win over the weekend 26-3 against San Antonio, back at home this Sunday. That is an 11 a.m. kickoff. Mother's Day. 11 a.m. Did I mention it's Mother's Day? And it's Sunday?
At 11 a.m.?
11 a.m.
11 a.m.
Mother's Day?
Mother's Day.
Oh, it's Mother's Day?
All day.
Sweet.
On Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Braves win last night 4-3 against the Los Angeles Dodgers. 842 feet of home runs by Austin Riley, man. Those were bombs.
I mean, dead center.
I mean, there's like nothing questionable about those. Alabama over the weekend, they announced they're going to add Yale to its men's basketball schedule. Bama baseball, they blew one yesterday against Vanderbilt. They fall to 36-12 overall, 13-11 in the SEC. Meanwhile, Auburn baseball, they take 2 out of 3 from the Tennessee Volunteers. They're now 33-15, 13-11 in the SEC. Just moments away from President Trump making an announcement with Roger Goodell. It is expected that they are going to name Washington, D.C. as the home of next year's NFL draft. The early idea is to host the draft there at the National Mall.
Wait, is this for next year or 2027?
I'm sorry, 2027, not 2026. My mistake. Yes, you are correct.
Where's it going to be next year? It's not.
I think Pittsburgh?
Oh, that's right. It's
Yes.
in Pittsburgh.
Yep, 2027.
So we went from cold to cold to now more cold.
Yeah.
But it's in April. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So 2027 for the NFL draft. We've asked you today, it is Reaction Monday. You folks have been so kind to call in and also text and tweet into the show. So let's get to the text line because we've been unable to get to those but until now. Brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful, 205-834-9450.
Yes, and as Pat said, many of you chiming in on a variety of topics here from throughout the show, from everything with the Kentucky Derby to the Stallions, Bill and Jordan. So we've got a lot to get to here. Ken chimes in first. He says the Kentucky Derby was a great race to watch, bad race to bet on. $2
Cornella box?
I don't know, a $2 TRI only paid out $260 or $460. You only needed to box the 18-8-3 $2 bet, and it cost $12. All 3 were the favorites. Everybody was on the favorites. Let's see. And I believe the Sovereignty was 9-1 odds. The winner, I believe those were 9-1 odds. So not super far down, but not at the top. Jody chimes in and says, now if we can, about the round ball rock, now if we can just get the CBS college football music back to the SEC, all will be right in the sports world.
That's right, Jody.
Unfortunately, I don't think that one's going to happen. Let's see. We have Bama Hater who chimes in. Okay, here we go. Bama Hater gives records that he think would get coaches fired in 2025. So he's going to list these schools. If this happens, these coaches are going to get fired in Bama Hater's opinion. All right, so at Miami, he says if Miami goes 9-3 without winning the ACC championship or making the playoff, he thinks Cristobal is out.
All right, 9-3.
Now for Alabama, he says if Alabama goes 9-3 with no SEC championship or playoff, that Kalen DeBoer will be out.
No way.
He then says that Hugh Freeze, if Auburn goes 8-4 or worse, that Hugh Freeze should be fired.
All right, so let me address DeBoer and Freeze because I do not know the inner workings of Miami's contract with Mario Cristobal. But I can tell you this with 100% accuracy, that Kalen DeBoer is going to be owed about $60 million if you want to get rid of Kalen DeBoer. So unless Kalen DeBoer does something to violate his contract, I don't care if, unless it is like an 0-12 season, Kalen DeBoer is going to be your head football coach in year 3. That's just not going to happen. Now, Hugh Freeze, different story. 8-4, he could be fired. And I've mentioned this on the show before. Auburn was very smart when they wrote his contract. His contract is unlike the ones before of Brian Harsin and Gus Malzahn. Those two gentlemen's contracts required that within 30 days that you fired them, that you had to pay them a boatload of money.
Yes.
Like multi-millions.
Like over $10 million. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hugh Freeze, if they were to get rid of him tomorrow, they're going to be able to parcel that out over the course of time. So there is a situation where if you think that 8-4 would get Hugh Freeze fired, Auburn could afford that because, once again, they can spread it out, unlike what they did with Brian Harsin and Gus Malzahn. So that's the two situations that I feel pretty firm about in regards to the likelihood of them being fired. Yes, Hugh Freeze could possibly get fired by Auburn, and Auburn could stomach that. Kalen DeBoer is not going to be fired at Alabama after year 2. It's just not going to happen.
No, I totally agree with your sentiment there. So for Cristobal, I mean, I feel like if you go 9-3 this year after losing the number
now, he
one
said
quarterback,
9-3 without winning,
without an
conference?
ACC title or playoff appearance. So you just go 9-3 and you go play in some bowl game. I don't think they fire him for that.
I don't think they do either, but Bama hater would know Mario Cristobal's contract better than me.
He would. Let's see. Someone says, I know where Landrum is today. He's at the Toy Museum up in P-Town.
You missed that conversation, Conrad. I think you would have added a lot to the conversation.
I thrive in those conversations.
Well, I mean,
Pat.
you enjoy going to historical museums.
I do.
And I know that you have the proclivity to do a lot of research on that specific subject. So with that being said, I think you would have added a great deal to the conversation last week. I'm at P-Town. What do you think I was talking about?
No, I appreciate that. Never mind. We're not going to share that story today. All right. Somebody else chimes in. They say, this might not be a bad strategy for the Derby. Someone says, I always bet on a horse that poops on his way to the tracks. You know, he's lighter and will run faster, which apparently Sovereignty did. And so this person bet on Sovereignty and won.
When I used to go to the Birmingham Turf Club.
That's smart. That is really smart.
No, when I went to the Birmingham Turf Club, there would be trainers that would swear on the fact that whichever horse did do that or urinated before it got on the track, that they were
Can you not just pop a laxative in them while they're up there and hope that process move faster? I don't know. That's
well, there's certain things that are allowed and not allowed in regards to drug intake on horses.
Gotcha.
And I don't think that would be allowed, Conrad.
Probably not. So you've just got to be lucky and hope that your horse's poop schedule works out with the timing of the race. Okay. That's a good strategy, though, whoever texted that in. It obviously worked for you this weekend. Let's see. Somebody asked, Conrad, did you bet on Sandman because of Mariano Rivera and Metallica? Because that was his entrance song whenever he would come out to close the game for the Yankees. He says that was my pick. Plus, he's a gray murderer on a sloppy track. That's Mike in Shreveport. I will say the reason that we picked Sandman is because of how unique he looked compared to all the other horses. Like, man, that's an intimidating looking.
Were you
horse.
online and saw that he had gone to the bathroom before he got into the paddock?
No, that's where we messed up, unfortunately. But yeah, no, that's why we did it, Mike, because of the gray coat. It looked very intimidating, very unique. Let's see, Randall. Yeah, okay, this was a cool detail. If y'all saw this over the weekend. So he says, did y'all see that every horse in the Kentucky Derby is a descendant of Secretariat?
I sure did. That's really cool.
They were putting that horse to work.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yes, Posey, I am saying that horse peanuts would be a no-go for me because of my allergies. That would not work out well. You are correct on that one. Let's see. Gary chimes in, the gringo.
Gringo.
He says, I'm just going to let y'all know Landrum's not home right now, so he might be at the museum. Where's Landrum? That's a good question. Who knows?
Is that the only, Conrad, is that the only museum of that sorts in the country? Or is there others? I know you've been planning the rest of your summer vacations, and I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, Pat. I'm not sure.
I just didn't know if P-Town was the only one that had that type of museum.
Well, I don't know how many of those museums there are per capita, but I'm gonna, you know what? It's whatever. I hope Paige doesn't look at my search history later. Let's see. Is there more than one? Yes, there are. There are. Wow. Yep. Don't Google that. There's more than one though. Okay. We have Jerry from Hayden. He checks and chimes in. He says, if Kalen DeBonehead loses to Vanderbilt again, he is gone.
I'm sorry, folks, to disappoint you. $60 million is a lot to get rid of a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
And not to mention the fact that you've got multiple coaches that have $1 million contracts.
Correct.
And then you're going to have to go out and probably pay somebody off to come coach your team. And then give him more money to be your head coach.
Correct. Because
it's
going
not
the
as
cheap option is not going to satisfy the fan base. You would rather be stuck with Kalen DeBoer even if you maybe don't have the most confidence in him. I think you're going to be fine, Alabama fans, but time will tell. All right. Someone else chimes in. They say, the Babylon Bee just put out a hilarious article about Bill and Jordan. Okay, we'll check that out later. Let's see. Someone says, Seth chimes in and says, guys, in light of the recent week-long Bill Belichick-Jordan relationship drama, can y'all discuss, is this a real thing that you were seeing? They're asking mainly me and you, Molly, if we know anybody our age that's dating somebody significantly old, like 20, 30 years older than that. I do not personally know anybody around my age in their 20s that is dating somebody that much older.
Yeah, I don't know anyone either.
Now, I think we all know in celebrity circles that is maybe not the most uncommon thing in the world to see somebody.
But no one I know
older.
personally.
No, me neither. Me neither. Let's see. Josh in Huntsville is tired of the Bill Belichick and Jordan drama. Well, I think a lot of us are, but it is funny. Let's see. Someone says, if The Rock promoted the UFL the way he promoted his tequila brand, it would have to help.
Well, it can't hurt, right?
It cannot. I mean, come on, man. Legitimately, he has almost 400 million followers on Instagram. That's a lot of people.
Has he been to a UFL game this year?
I don't know.
I don't know that either.
He's busy, Pat. He's making the next Jumanji or something, probably. Something with a lot of explosions. Let's see. Somebody said, talking about our attendance things, they said for the Houston Roughnecks game, the population of Houston is almost 8 million now. The stadium there is a dump.
It is a dump.
Somebody from Texas chiming in saying, not a great venue to go check out a game.
And listen, one of the reasons why they might not care about how many people are in attendance to the game, but you have a team in Arlington, Dallas Metroplex is a top 10 market. Houston's a top, 4 or 5 market. So maybe they're hoping that over the air television that they have enough viewers where they don't really care about 4,000 people showing up to the game. But if they get a couple 100,000 or 500,000 people watching by accident in those markets, that would help their total numbers out from an advertising standpoint.
This is an interesting text. Might need some background on this one. Somebody chimes in and says, I had a coach in high school that is now married to one of his players. He is in his 50s and she is in her 20s.
What?
Okay.
A former player, obviously, but.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, gonna need some background information on that one if you can provide that. That's something. And then someone else chimes in. They say, I am 25. One of my best friends from college is 27 dating a 47-year-old. Okay. so maybe a little more common than we are.
Are you and Paige the same age?
Aware of. She is 23 years younger than me. No, she is 1 year younger than me. So actually, she's technically like 11 months younger than me.
Gotcha.
So you robbed the cradle.
Absolutely, Pat. Absolutely. But yeah, 205-834-9450. Appreciate y'all chiming in. Keep texting them, and we will keep reading them here on the show.
This is Reaction Monday. We welcome your input on a myriad of topics. Give us a call, 1-800-239-WJOX. It's 12:19 on this Monday. Thanks for tuning us in. This is Three Man Front. Great radio stations like the Ump up in Huntsville, Alabama. Here in Central Alabama, Jocks 94.5 down in the capital city of Montgomery, Jocks 740. Always appreciate folks chiming in on the text line, 205-834-9450. We're going to get into a much deeper conversation about our post-spring top 15 when Landrum returns tomorrow. But there's already been a bunch of lists coming out. And USA Today, their network of newspapers, late last week, they came up with a list of ranking the top 16 coaches of the Southeastern Conference, 1 through 16. And not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I did find it interesting how, according to Blake Topmeyer and also John Adams, a longtime columnist for the Knoxville News Sentinel, they're the ones that compiled this list. No surprise that Kirby Smart is the number 1 coach in the Southeastern Conference.
As he should be.
Mm-hmm. At number 2, Steve Sarkisian.
Okay.
3, Brian Kelly.
Okay.
4, Kalen DeBoer.
Okay.
5, Lane Kiffin. 6, Josh Heupel. 7, Drinkwitz. Shane Beamer, 8. Mike Elko, 9. Mark Stoops, 10. Brent Venables, 11. Hugh Freeze, 12.
Wow. Okay.
This is what Blake Topmeyer wrote about Hugh Freeze at number 12. Freeze is like Katy Perry.
That's not the line I was expecting that to
Neither
open
was
with. Okay,
I.
sorry.
Both were good once, but their best work occurred more than a decade ago, and they're starting to come off like hangers-on, clinging by their fingertips to a world that left them behind.
Just of all the people you could pick, why Katy Perry?
That is
It's just
pretty
such
funny.
a random comparison, but I mean, okay, yeah.
Maybe because Katy Perry did game day when Hugh Freeze was the head coach.
Oh yeah,
That's
that
true.
was.
Mhm.
You're right.
He goes on to say, credit Freeze for recruiting well, but a lot of coaches would recruit well at Auburn. He needs to coach and develop better. There's enough talent on offense to produce more in 2025. This becomes a pivotal season for his tenure.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
So he's got Brent Venables ahead of Hugh Freeze, and Hugh Freeze is 1 ahead of Clark Lee at Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Sam Pittman comes in at 14, Billy Napier 15, and the worst coach, according to Blake Topmeyer, is Jeff Levy.
Yeah, I mean
Man,
that's
Sun
not
Belt Billy.
surprising, but Billy at
Yeah.
it's a lot of love for a guy in Brent Venables who has accomplished nothing as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote this about Venables. File Oklahoma's raise and contract extension for Venables before last season among the all-time most unnecessary business moves. 1 year later, Venables is in a bad season away from a hot seat terrain. This program expects to be among the elite. With Venables, it's a struggle to attain mediocrity. The midnight hour approaches. Now, want the upside? Oklahoma stands to be one of the conference's most improved teams after some splashy transfer grabs. With Venables' job on the line, he'll return to calling the defense his strong suit.
Where was Mark Stoops on that list?
He is at number 10.
I would move Freeze up a couple spots, I think.
Ahead of Stoops and Venables.
Definitely ahead of Venables.
Yeah.
I mean, this
He's got Mike Elko at 9, Shane Beamer 8, Drinkwitz 7, Heupel 6, Kiffin 5. He wrote this about Kalen DeBoer, who was at number 4. DeBoer's first season wasn't a total bust. He beat LSU and Auburn, but it cannot be held a success. He lost to Vanderbilt and previously listless Oklahoma. We knew replacing the irreplaceable wouldn't be easy. On the other hand, it must get better and quickly. DeBoer's teams accelerated in year 2 at previous stops. His career .876 winning percentage says he can do this, but Alabama fans need to see him do it in the SEC. Hiring longtime wingman Ryan Grubb to run the offense was a wise redirect. The pairing helped take Washington to the national title game in 2023.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. He conveniently left off that he also beat Georgia, but that's fine. But besides that, yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty
So
spot on.
you would have Hugh Freeze ahead of Stoops and Venables. So you would have Freeze at number 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds about right. Do you agree with number 12? Do you think he should be a little higher, a little lower? Do you think that's just right?
I personally believe it's about right because I think the fact that he is yet to do anything in the modern era of the SEC
That is a fair
That's
argument.
fair.
I mean, that's just statistical data. I mean, that's not.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Brent Venables did win, 10 games 2 years ago?
Yeah.
In the Big 12, but.
I mean, this is a make or break year for Hugh Freeze.
No doubt about it. And I think we would also agree, though, that let's say Auburn does meet some of those expectations for them this year. If they were to go out there and win 9 games, I think you would see Hugh Freeze a lot higher on that kind of list next year.
Okay, so I just gave you the Southeastern Conference top 16. Okay. So now, nationally speaking, where do these coaches fit in nationally?
Okay.
Kirby, number 1 nationally.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Steve Sarkisian is 4th nationally.
Behind Ryan Day and
Dabo Swinney.
Okay.
Yeah.
James Franklin, number 5.
And one easy path through the playoffs, and look where you get.
Dan Lanning at 6. Marcus Freeman at 7. Kalen DeBoer at 8th nationally, according to USA Today. Lane Kiffin, 9. Brian Kelly, 10. So it's interesting that Brian Kelly was ahead of Kalen DeBoer
And Lane.
in the SEC,
yeah.
but according to the national. Matt Campbell, 11. Kyle Winningham, 12. Kurt Signetti, 13. Kirk Ferenz, 14.
No.
What?
No.
Chris Kleiman at 15. Jeff Brom at Louisville at 16. Josh Heupel, 17. Matt Rule, 18.
I was wondering where he was going to be. Wow, that's pretty good.
It's good. We'll take
Where's
it.
Dion?
Brett Bielema, 19.
Oh, he's going to hate that.
Kalani Sitake, 20. Lance Leipold at Kansas at 21. Rhett Lashley, 22. Lincoln Riley, 23. Eli Drinkwitz, 24.
Lincoln Riley and Drink next to each other on a coaching ranking. That's awesome. Okay.
And at number 25, Mario Cristobal.
So
That's
no
your
Dion.
No Dion, yeah.
Nope. That's your top 25, according to USA Today. Just missed the list: Dan Mullen, Bronco Mendenhall, Jeff Munkin, and Kenny Dillingham. So Dion didn't even
Not even
Still no
honorable
Dion.
mention.
didn't even the honorable mention list.
That's an interesting list.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very interesting list. Generally agree with it.
So Ryan Day 2 and Dabo 3 and Sark 4.
I mean, I would have Dan Lanning in my top 5 personally. I like Dan Lanning a lot.
I do too.
For me personally, as an Alabama fan, the only coaches right now that I would rather have over Kalen DeBoer, if they just magically wanted to appear in Tuscaloosa,
Is James Franklin and who?
would be Dan Lanning and Kirby. Those are the only 2 guys that you could probably talk me into taking over Kalen DeBoer. Right
Oh,
now.
you would have to talk you into?
Well, not Kirby, but Dan Lanning. We'd have a conversation. Bring Kirby
So
on
not
over.
James Franklin
No, I'm good.
or Kirk Ferenz.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. James Franklin, I think, is a little overvalued. I would say James Franklin is 9 or 10, not number 5.
No, he is not a top 5
He is
coach.
not number 5.
I'm sorry. You can say all you want to, but him not winning the big game or his biggest rivals in the Big Ten, you can't ignore that. I'm
No,
sorry.
You can't.
You can't.
I mean, he had the easiest path to get to where he was in the college football playoff this year.
And credit to him for taking advantage of that. But
No, absolutely.
we recognize it for what it is. And then you played a real team and you lost.
Mm-hmm. He got exposed when you actually played a halfway decent team.
Yes.
So, interesting list to say the very least.
I thought you were going to tell me that Josh Heupel was going to be like number 3 because it was based out of Knoxville and they were going to champion Josh Heupel before this season as the best coaching job ever, and Tennessee was still going to make the playoffs or something.
No, the USA Today Network, again, you had Blake Topmeyer, Paul Meyerberg, Jordan Mendoza, John Adams, all those people contributed in this list that they came
The
up
president? Former president? John Adams?
with. No.
Okay.
Tennessee's been playing football a long time, but not that long.
Not that long.
Yeah. More 3-man front on this Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. 12:33 on this Reaction Monday. Pat and Molly Conrad. Landrum back with us tomorrow. We'll be at Social Taco. Join us out at Taco on the Taco Terrace, second level. Doors open up at 11. Just tell them you know Landrum. They'll let you in early if you want to come up there early and see us. We're actually, and I don't know, we might live to regret this, but we're going to let Conrad show up tomorrow. Molly has been gracious enough to volunteer her spot on the program so that Conrad can get out and break bread with a couple of people that he hadn't seen in a long time.
It's been a while for him. I wanted to give him a shot.
I just like that Molly's continuing to carry on the qualities that you would look for in an employee of the month, even though that month has now come to an end.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that, Molly. You could have easily taken the easy way out and coasted for the rest of the year on your accomplishment, but you're continuing to be employee of the month material.
But I will say this, Molly, in recent memory, you have absolutely killed it as employee of the month compared to Justin and Conrad.
Thank you. I carry that with pride.
You should.
Thank you.
I mean, you've handled it with grace, hence your middle name.
They haven't taken down my picture yet. Kind of surprised I'm still up there.
Also worth noting, somewhat related, Pat and Landrum have never won employee of the month.
This is true.
But
we have.
But
yeah, Pat's gonna some other award like employee of the year or something, but I don't think that.
You were employee of the year?
I was.
Look at you.
It was at a different place.
No, it wasn't. It was here. It was downstairs.
Different place.
When was this?
Yeah.
Whatever.
She goes to a different school.
Whatever. Well, all that rain over the weekend, if you had any questions about the health of your roof, well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to call Travis Lloyd and the Abide Roofing team right now, their local team. They're ready to assist you. I know a lot of times when you call these numbers, you're going to get some answering service that literally out of the market. They do not know the needs of people in Central Alabama. Well, Travis Lloyd and his team, they do. That's why you need to call them at 205-922-7134 or go to their website, abideroof.com. Right now, no strings attached, no pressure, free roof inspection. Call that number I just gave you. Travis Lloyd and his team, they're going to come to your house. They're going to get on your roof. They're going to take a look at your shingles. They're going to look at the health of your roof and make sure that everything is good to go. And if there is a problem, if it's a small problem, they can fix it. If it's a larger problem like I had on my roof, which I needed a whole brand new roof, start to finish, they can do that as well. They can deal with your insurance company. They're the real deal. They're licensed, bonded, and insured, and they're just great people. They're going to be honest and upfront with everything, and the communication is outstanding. That number again at Abide Roofing is 205-922-7134, 205-922-7134, or go to their website, abideroof.com. Back to the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. Conrad, more text coming in on this Reaction Monday.
And we have some good ones here. Josh chimes in. He says, did Pat win this Employee of the Year award back in 2020 because it was a shortened season, so it doesn't count?
It was actually COVID.
Oh.
Nobody was around.
Let's see. We have Bama Hater chiming back in. He says, Conrad, you see how you clown a certain coach and a team about having an easy path to the playoffs, then lose to a certain team? However, Alabama lost to unranked Oklahoma and Vanderbilt and did not make the playoffs. They did do that. And I was critical of them just like I will be critical of other teams that have easy paths to the playoff and don't make it, like Alabama last year. Let's see. Lee chimes in. He says, can't believe Gators weren't in y'all's top 20 or top 15. Actually, I can believe it, but it just hurts to admit right now.
Yeah, if you missed it, we have released the three-man front top 15. Molly, you want to go over that quickly in regards to what it looks like post-spring? Basically, we took into consideration the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. There wasn't any movement really for Alabama or Auburn, everything. The Ducks were already in the kitchen, so to speak. So give us the top 15.
At number 15, we have Pat's Ole Miss Rebels, 14 Kansas State, 13 Miami, 12 Michigan, 11 Brett Bielema and the Fighting Illini. At 10, South Carolina, 9 LSU, 8 Notre Dame, 7 Alabama, 6 Oregon, 5 Penn State, 4 Georgia, 3 the Fighting Dabos of Clemson, 2 Ohio State, and number 1, the Texas Longhorns.
Let's see. All right, Matt from Fayette, he chimes in. He says, speaking of Employee of the Month, I have a recommendation for the Molly Movie Minute. Have y'all seen the movie Employee of the Month? I believe that's the one with Jessica Simpson and Dane Cook.
I have not.
If that's the one that you're thinking of as well, Matt, it's pretty good.
Yeah, matter of fact, we were talking about that last week, and Molly said she's ready.
I'm ready whenever y'all are.
When we are. So we might make that happen Friday. We might assign her a movie starting Friday.
Okay.
Sweet.
Okay.
As long as there's
here.
Well, as long as you can still assign one though.
Okay.
As long as there's no horror movies, then I'm good.
Yeah, we need to.
That one's up in the air.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Might be negotiable. We'll see. Let's see. Someone chimes in and says, so Kalen DeBoer is undefeated against Dan Lanning and Steve Sarkisian, but he is not ranked higher. I think that is a fair point.
Yeah.
We've talked about that a lot when Alabama hired him.
Yeah, by the way, those weren't our rankings. We will come out with our own rankings in the coming weeks, but that was USA Today's.
Correct. And to make that texture even more mad, I did still say that I would take Dan Lanning over Kalen DeBoer. Somebody chiming in from Montgomery, they say, the truth in today's world is that schools like Auburn and Florida have to have a longer leash. They can't risk losing their roster, starting all over again, and having a revolving door reputation talking about coaching and, making coaching changes every couple of years. Somebody else chiming in about Hugh Freeze says, Hugh Freeze is currently deserving of that crappy ranking in the SEC. Auburn lost multiple games last year strictly from the sidelines. Would you agree with that, Pat?
Yeah. I do believe that they lost some games that they had no business losing.
Cowboy chimes in. He says, Billy Napier was worlds above what everyone predicted last year, and Kentucky was horrible. Talking a bit about how Mark Stoops was, I believe, 10th.
Yes.
Billy Napier was 15th in USA Today's rankings of the SEC head coaches.
If you're just now joining us, that list had Kirby 1, Sarkisian 2, Brian Kelly 3, Kalen DeBoer 4, Kiffin 5, Heupel 6, Drinkwitz 7, Beamer 8, Elko 9, Stoops 10, Venables 11, Hugh Freeze 12.
All right, Brandon chimes in. He says, the media overrates Brian Kelly so much, the dude lost 7 games with a Heisman quarterback. That is fair. Granted, it's over 2 years, to clarify. That was over 2 years, but yes, that did happen.
All right, so this is what they wrote about Brian Kelly, since you just mentioned Brian Kelly. It says, LSU needed more rocket fuel, so Kelly opened his wallet. His personal donation sparked NIL fundraising after last season. Kelly also opened his mind to more fully embracing transfers. The cash influx and mindset pivot resulted in Kelly compiling one of the nation's best transfer hauls. What does he do with it? His LSU tenure has been marked with good quarterbacks and insufficient defense. Kelly's been good, not great, at a program that expects greatness. Fixing the defense remains the bridge to greatness. The transfers should help.
And I think the reality with Brian Kelly is, right, what he's done at LSU so far, you could probably chalk that up as a disappointment. But he's also one of a handful of coaches that has actually played for a national championship game that is still an active coach in college football. And so I think you have a lot of people that give him a lot of credit for what he did at Notre Dame and Cincinnati. And now the LSU stuff, we keep waiting on him to have that big season. But if, at least according to Landrum's top 25, he is expecting that LSU will have that season this year. Someone's asking me if I'm going to the Alabama-Vanderbilt game this year. No, I will be staying very far away. I will not be going to the Oklahoma game either. Not even going to risk it. Gavin chimes in. He says, how did Texas get swept by Arkansas over the weekend and still hold on to the number 1 spot in the Division I baseball rankings, but yet in Baseball America and Perfect Game, they moved Georgia up to number 1? Guess they just have different metrics that they... Who knows? Maybe Schlossnagel slid him a $100 bill or something to keep him at number 1. They certainly have money. Let's see. We have... Jimmy says, Hugh Freeze should not be in the top 15 of SEC coaches. So I guess Jimmy's saying Hugh Freeze should be the lowest ranked head coach in all of the SEC. I think that's I don't agree with that necessarily. And
so let me ask you a question. And this is something that a lot of ADs get asked these what if scenarios. Do you think right now that there is another SEC program that would love to have either Hugh Freeze or Kalen DeBoer as their head coach?
Wait, how many do I think would like to have them?
Just name me one or two that would love to have Kalen DeBoer or Hugh Freeze over their current head coach.
Mississippi State.
Okay. There's one.
Just SEC or all Power 4?
Just SEC.
Kentucky.
Okay.
I think, I don't know.
For both coaches.
Yeah, for both of them. Yeah, I think Kentucky.
Okay. Do you think South Carolina would give up Beamer for DeBoer or Hugh Freeze?
Not for Hugh Freeze.
Obviously, I think Arkansas would take either one.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
I don't think Florida would do it. They might. I think they might for DeBoer, but not for Hugh.
Would Vandy?
That's the kicker
Yeah.
right now. I still say yes.
You think so?
I still say yes.
I think Vandy
I
would
don't
say
think they
no to
would.
either one of them.
Yeah.
Either one of them?
Either one of them.
Really?
Well,
okay. If we're also talking about the financial commitment that it would take to bring those guys in, from that standpoint, yes.
No, I'm not even thinking about the financial commitment. I'm just thinking of the fact that if you're Vanderbilt, you're sitting there going, I mean, we beat Kalen DeBoer. We beat Alabama. Why would we go hire him?
Yes, I understand that perspective. I find it hard to, and hey, I would love for E. Robinson to tweet in because we know he's our resident Vanderbilt fan here on the show with what he thinks about that. Vanderbilt's tricky though. That would have been a gimme, a year ago. So we have Mississippi State and Kentucky. Surefire things.
In Arkansas.
Sorry.
Yeah. So three of the other 15 schools that do not employ them. Well, 3 of the 14, because we'd say that I don't think Alabama would want Hugh Freeze, and I don't think Auburn would want Kalen DeBoer.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
I don't want Hugh Freeze, but you don't think that there's...
I do not think Auburn would want Kalen DeBoer.
And we're not talking about strictly, we don't want the old Alabama coach.
No, I just don't. I don't remember knocking on Kalen DeBoer's door a couple of years ago.
That's a good point. They did not. That would be an interesting... That might be a good poll question one day. It's a very interesting question there. So we feel pretty good about those 3, though, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Kentucky being 3 schools that would gladly trade their head coach for either Hugh Freeze or DeBoer.
I'm pretty confident in those.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we're having a conversation about Vanderbilt, and I mean, you feel very convicted that they would not want to trade places with either of those coaches. That's the biggest compliment we could give them right now, I think.
And you never know about Mizzou.
Well,
it's a different place.
Let's see how this year goes with Drink, because expectations are not as high.
Because you think that South Carolina would take Kalen DeBoer over Beamer. I don't think South Carolina.
I don't know if they would do that either.
I don't think Carolina would do that.
I think that's fair. I think there's a lot of them that would not. Now, I think this time a year ago, there would be a much different answer to that question.
We will continue to take your text messages. Phone calls are welcome as well. 1-800-239-WJOX on this Reaction Monday. 9 minutes in front of the hour. Welcome back in. It's three-man front, Jocks 94.5, 1-800-239-WJOX. Anything you want to talk about on this Monday? Love to hear from you. Let's go to Cincinnati. A good friend, person that listens to the program as much as possible on the Jocks 94.5 app. Lee in Cincinnati joins us here on Three Man Front. Hey, Lee, hope you're well.
Hey, I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. And one thing I wanted to say, well, first of all, and you can go check out my Facebook page, and I feel very bad about this. I need, how do I say this? Let me start over again. I need relationship advice. My wife always gets ticked off at me because I always bet on the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, boy.
And I never come close. But I did not bet this year. However, I put out before the Kentucky Derby started that Win, Place, and Show was going to be sovereignty, journalism, and Sandman. Okay? And I've got proof of that. Like I said, I put it on Facebook before the Kentucky Derby started. My wife called me all excited. Did you bet? Did you bet? I said, no, you told me not to. And now she's mad at me because I did. She said, one time you would have won. And I said, if I would have bet on this, then all those Sovereignty probably would have broken a leg in the first turn, and journalism's jockey probably would have had a heart attack in the second turn.
All right, so hold on a second, Lee. So what was the main reason why you decided not to bet this year?
Because my wife told me not to.
But wait a second. Now she was mad at you because you didn't bet. Because she saw on Facebook, right?
Yeah, exactly. And she said, did you bet? Did you? She was all excited. She saw that I put that on Facebook beforehand. Oh, did you bet? I said, no, you told me not to. You said you'd be mad if I did. You're an idiot. I said, no, the past couple years when I have, you've gotten mad at me. It hasn't been much, okay? I bet like $10 every time. She said, well, whenever you bet on anything, it's a definite they're going to lose. And I said, okay, well, and I didn't bet this year, and look what happened. So, and now she's mad at me because I can't win for losing. So I need, please tell me, what the hell can I do, to save everything with my wife?
All right, Molly, what do you recommend? Let's get a woman's perspective.
Ooh, I don't know. I've never been in a situation like this because I don't bet either, Lee. This is a tricky one, though, because it kind of feels like a lose-lose situation.
So is there anything you could recommend to Lee to kind of smooth things over with his wife?
Trying to think.
Flowers would be a good start, probably.
Like maybe a nice dinner to apologize. Flowers isn't. You can never go wrong with flowers, though.
Jewelry?
Okay, yeah, jewelry. It's a good, yeah.
Oh. But I will say this. One thing you have to understand is my perspective. I did exactly what she asked me to do.
And see, that's why I said it's a lose-lose situation, because she told you not to bet, and you didn't. But then if you would have bet, you would have probably won big. So I'm sorry, Lee.
Oh my gosh! Oh man! So yeah, this is the true catch-22 situation. But I need it. But you're right. And what I'm going to do is, yes, I am going to take her out to dinner, and I'm going to say, I'm sorry that you were wrong, sweetie, and that I was right, and I always am right. So please start realizing that. Is that what I should do, Molly?
I don't know about that, but maybe take her out to dinner.
I think this should be a new segment on the show, like Molly's advice.
No,
her dating advice?
Yeah, like she gives advice.
That would be. I thought that was good advice.
You did?
I thought it was solid.
Okay, I don't want to lead you.
Yeah, you told him not to say the thing he was going to say. That would not have
been good.
Yeah.
And I will say this: I haven't said stuff like that. That's why I've been married for 27 years now.
That's smart.
Okay, I'm not stupid, but I'm not smart either, apparently. So.
Well, Lee, listen. Well, good luck, and let us know. Check back in and let us know if Molly gave you the best advice.
I promise you, I will.
All right, thanks, Lee.
At least I can do. Thanks for your help.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Be careful out there, Lee in Cincinnati, listening on the Jocks 94.5 app. Then let's try to do this real quick before the top of the hour. Bobby is next on Three Man Front. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, it's actually Robbie, but it's all good.
Hey, Robbie. Sorry about that.
Yeah. It's all good. Two things. One is I would have to say that the South, the only thing that's keeping, would keep the fans of the Gamecock fans from choosing DeBoer right now, I don't think it's because of Beamer's wins. Yeah, he had a great year, but Beamer is a phenomenal communicator, and he's a good rallier, with the community there in Columbia and in the state, of course. But if he didn't have half of that charisma, if you will, I think they'd take DeBoer in a heartbeat.
Okay. And that makes perfect sense because I will give Beamer a lot of credit. I mean, social media wise and the way that he communicates.
He seems to relate to the kids really well.
I mean, let's just be honest. Kalen DeBoer gives you word salads all the time in regards to press conferences and things of that nature. But Shane Beamer there's a little meat on that bone when he speaks.
Yeah. And also, I went to the Derby past Saturday for the first time ever. Absolutely incredible.
Did you
experience.
really?
I was absolutely amazing. Me and my buddy woke up Saturday morning here in Birmingham, and we said, "Let's go." So we just packed a couple suits, got some stogies, and took the trip. So
that is awesome.
It was awesome.
That is great.
Such a rush, seeing those horses come around the turn. So.
That is very cool. Well, Robbie, we'll have to hear more about that at a later time. But thanks for the call.
Sure. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. Man, Robbie just decided, woke up with some boys and said, "Hey,
I like it.
Let's go."
That too.
Sounds like a big time.
Why don't you ever do that with me and Landrum, Conrad?
Because I'm allergic to peanuts and horses.
Well, I was thinking about other big sporting
There's
events.
other things going on.
You want to go to the Braves and Yankees game?
No, I'm busy.
Okay.
Thanks for the offer, though. Maybe next time. One more hour to go. 3-man front on this Monday. We have entered the fourth quarter here on 3-man front. Landrum, Molly, Pat, with you until 2 o'clock. We'll take you up to the Paul Feinbaum Show. Thanks for tuning us in on this Reaction Monday. 1-800-239-WJOX. Conrad, myself, and Landrum Roberts will be at Social Taco tomorrow. Join us from 10 until 2. If you drop Conrad's name, we'll let you in early. You can come up to the Taco Terrace and hang out with Conrad. I liked your new 8x10 glossies you'll be giving out tomorrow. Look pretty nice.
Yeah, the
you
headshots.
shot those at the beach over the weekend, right?
That's right. Yeah, the headshots are free, but if you want them autographed, it's going to cost you a little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah, just a little
$2.
$3. Inflation. Hits everyone, Pat.
Or just buy Conrad one of those wonderful dollar beer options that you have at Social
I would
Taco.
also accept one of those in exchange for nothing. Yep.
In exchange for nothing.
Yep.
At least he's honest.
Yep.
Been talking a lot about some of these coaches lists that, we have officially entered into the season of lists. Matter of fact, we've got our own list that we launched about an hour ago. It's our post-spring top 15. Give us the top 5, Molly, in regards to the spring three-man front top 15.
At number 1, you have the Texas Longhorns. At number 2, you have Ohio State. 3, the Fighting Dabos of Clemson. 4, the Georgia Bulldogs. And number 5, Conrad's favorite team and favorite coach, James Franklin and Penn State.
I did not realize you were a James Franklin fan.
Oh, yeah.
He just talks so highly of him.
We all, when I was, saying I wanted him to come to Alabama after Nick Saban retired, y'all thought I was joking the whole time. I was dead serious on that. I was ready to make it happen. I was going to fly to Happy Valley if Greg Byrne needed any assistance, but he said, hey, we got this guy in the Pacific Northwest. We think he might be a little better.
And for a point of reference, we had Alabama at 7 in our post-spring poll. Auburn did not make the top 15.
But they did make your top 15.
They did. I had them at 14, according to my list that I submitted.
Molly, did you have Nebraska on yours?
Of course.
She sent me one that had Nebraska number 1.
I said, I'm just kidding.
And then she changed it.
Well, that's where they're going to be after they knock off a Sherrone Moore-less Michigan team
That's
in week 4.
That's exactly right.
That is correct. In case you missed the story this morning, Michigan is expected to suspend Coach Sherrone Moore 2 games for the 2025 season as a self-imposed punishment in the advanced scouting case involving Connor Stallions. Now, a hearing date is set for June with the NCAA Infractions Committee, so they're trying to get ahead of this. They let this story leak out. Dan Wetzel from ESPN, he had it first this morning. Ross Dellinger has also done some reporting. So it appears that Sherrone Moore is going to sit out the very 2 most important games on their schedule this year.
That's right.
Is Central Michigan and Nebraska.
Well, one of those is a heated in-state rivalry, and the others is just 2 titans of the Big Ten.
That's right.
Yes.
Duking it out.
So that's week 3 and 4 on your Big Ten schedule that Sherrone Moore will not be allowed. Now, this is big because this is different than Harbaugh. He cannot go to practice. So for 2 weeks, he gets a 2-week vacation in the middle of the season. So he'll be hanging out at Panera, getting him some soup and some bread or whatever else that Harbaugh did.
Was it Central Michigan or Western Michigan when Connor Stallions was on the sideline? That's so fitting, is it not?
Isn't it?
That's
it
beautiful.
I think it was Central.
It was.
I thought it was
Okay,
Central,
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you just love it when things come together?
Mm-hmm. The irony. Dripping with irony. So Michigan opens the season by hosting New Mexico before traveling to high-profile non-conference game Oklahoma, which is Sherrone Moore's alma mater. So I guess he wanted to go back to Norman.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned, the key difference is Jim Harbaugh, he could go to practice. He just could not be in the facility, the venue, when they played a game. Where was it they were on the road? Was it Penn State? Where, he flew with the team and, he stayed at the team hotel?
Harbaugh?
Yeah. When he was suspended?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what game that was, but he did, I remember him doing that.
He was suspended for a few games.
3.
I thought it was more than that.
It's 3.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I just remembered Rutgers was one of them.
Yeah, because I remember him. He was in the air somewhere in the. I think the Big Ten had not laid down the law yet, and then when they landed, he was given the suspension.
Mm-hmm.
And then
they said, "Oh man, I just really want a bread bowl right now."
That sounds about right. Stallions, not Connor Stallions, but our Stallions, the Birmingham Stallions. They won over the weekend over San Antonio, 26-3. Quarterback play, a little bit better, 16 of 23 for Case Cookus, 166 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Stallions defense, that was the big story. 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Held the Brahmas to 178 yards of total offense. San Antonio 0 for 10 on 3rd down. 9,627 in attendance at Protective Stadium. Stallions now 6th in the league in attendance. Houston and Birmingham, they will do battle at 11 a.m. on Sunday. So.
Oh, is that Mother's Day?
All day.
It is Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
At 11 a.m.
Yes.
On Mother's Day at Protective. Okay.
All right, so a little bit of news coming from the college football playoff. This just announced a couple of moments ago. It's funny how they can't come up with any other decisions about the expansion or anything else going on with college football playoff. But they did announce that Troy Dannon, who is the athletics director at the University of Nebraska, let's just be honest, this is the only way Nebraska is ever going to have anything to do with the college football playoff.
But that's okay.
Is to name their AD.
I'll take it.
Onto the management committee. Now, this is a management committee. They're already on the committee.
Yes.
This is just the managers that help make ultimate decisions. Jeff Long, longtime college administrator, former athletics director at the University of Kansas, University of Arkansas, and Pittsburgh, to the CFP selection committee. So basically, Damon Evans is circling off the management committee. So Dannon now goes up to the management committee where now Jeff Long, and that is going to make a lot of people. Jeff Long was a respected member of the Southeastern Conference, longtime AD of Arkansas, but did not go so well when he went to Kansas.
Yeah.
And hired Les Miles.
That was a fun experiment.
Yep.
That didn't work out.
So Jeff Long, 40 years in the business of athletic directors. Over the weekend, the University of Texas released some details, financial details, to the new head basketball coach. Sean Miller's contract calls for Miller to be paid $31.8 million over 6 seasons. His first year salary is $4.8 million. It would place him tied for 14th in the nation among Division I head coaches, as Illinois' Brad Underwood's salary is also $4.8 million. Arkansas's John Calipari comes in at $8 million. Auburn's Bruce Pearl, $5.9 million. Tennessee's Rick Barnes, $5.8 million. Alabama's Nate Oates at $5 million. Mark Pope also at $5 million. And Ole Miss's Chris Beer now at $5 million as well. They're the only Southeastern Conference basketball head coaches who made more than Miller's first-year salary last year. You surprised? You think it should be more? About in line?
Oh, no. I mean, that sounds about right. I mean, he's a great basketball coach. He has a great track record. I wonder if I was thinking maybe that was a little bit lower because maybe you got a little bit of a discount because of some things in his past. But
oh, you mean that little NCAA thing?
Yeah, that little thing that happened to him at Arizona. But yeah, I think that's about right. I would have him in the upper half of the conference just coming in with his pedigree and what he did at both Xavier and Arizona already.
$4.8 million for season number 1, but his total package of the life of the contract comes in right at $32 million.
Well, they're going to expect him to do more than make it into the first 4 games like he played in this year for Texas and Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to expect a lot more than that if they're
paying him that much.
Paying him that much money, and it's Texas, yeah.
So we heard rumors coming out of Clemson that this indeed was going to happen, and it was made official on social media over the weekend. Clemson's Ian Shefflin, the 6'8" basketball power forward for Clemson. You remember him against Alabama in the Elite Eight.
He's a very good player.
Very good player. He announced on Instagram on Friday that he's now going to join Dabo Swinney's football team as a tight end. Shefflin played quarterback as a 9th grader before opting to focus on basketball. Shefflin said he will spend the next few months working on conditioning and strengthening his game of football.
He's 6'8", 240. Talk about a beast. If you can get him out there, if he has some wiggle to him, 6'8". Whew.
Shefflin blossomed into one of the key cogs for the Tigers hoops team the past 2 years. He averaged 12 points a game, almost 10 rebounds. He entered the transfer portal last month, hoping for a 5th year of basketball eligibility. Amongst the lawsuits with the NCAA, though, Shefflin said the likelihood of an outcome in time before the basketball training started was unlikely. So that's why he decided to take Dabo Swinney up on his offer to be a tight end on the Clemson football team.
It would make me so mad if he was a guy like Mike Evans and him being a basketball player at A&M and then being like, oh, we should try to play football. And then it's, oh, you're literally one of the best football players on planet Earth and you didn't even know it. And just those guys that are just so athletically talented, like it's awesome for them, but it just kind of makes you like, you kidding me? Like you're just that naturally good at sports that you can just walk out there and play for a top 5 football team. So we'll see if he actually, ends up playing or anything, but it's a cool story.
Shefflin said, I would never rule out going back to basketball. I'll see how these next 6 months go, see how development goes, see if I really like playing football, but I think it's a good opportunity for at least the next 6 months.
But so it said he stopped playing in 9th grade.
Ninth
to focus
grade,
on
he was the
basketball?
quarterback. 9th grade football team.
Again, that's like, I had a buddy at Alabama who he was a walk-on to the football team. He was a tight end. But he got drafted by the Padres straight out of high school, went and played in college, hurt his elbow. And then he literally came on campus, and somebody from the coaching staff found him on campus one day and said, hey, you should come try to walk on the football team. And he did, because he was 6'9", and he was a professional athlete before that. So yeah, some people just have it.
And one thing's for sure, Shefflin was a very good basketball player for Clemson.
Very good.
This is not like this is some guy that was, that rode the bench and wasn't a key contributor to Clemson's success the last 2 years. He was a handful against Alabama.
He was their second leading scorer. He's a very good player.
Yep. 6'8", basketball power forward, now going to play tight end for Dabo Swinney. Speaking of Dabo was in Birmingham yesterday. He's actually speaking at a corporate event today, but he was on the sideline at Protective Stadium, and he was asked about him coming back home and watching the Stallions.
Growing up just south of Birmingham, I was a huge Stallions fan in the 80s as a kid, with Joe Cribbs and Cliff Stout and Jim Smith and Buddy Adelette and Jackie Klein and all those guys. That was my pro team because we didn't have pro sports. So when this came back, it was awesome. And I'm good friends with Skip, and just really what an amazing job he and his staff have done to win 3 championships at any level of football, especially a professional level. It's incredible. So it's been fun to keep up with these guys, and certainly to watch Dion. He's had a great run here, and then Amari coming down as well. It's been fun.
That was Dabo Swinney at the Stallions game yesterday on the sideline. He was all decked out in Stallions gear as the Stallions beat the Brahmas. Speaking of pro football, just a couple minutes ago from the Oval Office, President Donald Trump, along with Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the National Football League, along with the owner, Josh Harris of the D.C. Commanders, they were in the Oval Office with a big announcement. This is what Roger Goodell had to say from the Oval Office.
The draft has really become one of the great entertainment and sports events. Just a week ago in Green Bay, we had over 600,000 people attend. The year before in Detroit, we had close to 800,000. As the president remarked, we believe we'll be well over 1 million when we come here to D.C. in 2027. So we not only believe it's a great site, we believe it's consistent with what the president said, which is investing in our communities, investing specifically here in the nation's capital, one that I grew up here in Washington, D.C., and is particularly important. We think we can have a tremendous impact on this community, and it will not just be an event, it will be something that will show the world how far the nation's capital has come and where it's going. So we're very excited about that.
Roger Goodell from the Oval Office today announcing that in 2027, the draft will be there at the National Mall in D.C.
Sounded a little
So you caught that
unwell.
too? You might have a cold.
Yeah. He just, I guess you're just used to him in situations where he is going to command the room.
Yeah, he wasn't.
No
pun intended. He was not commanding the room.
No.
Today.
Just sounded maybe a little nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Didn't sound like his normal
No.
effervescent self.
Well, let me tell you about Big Whiskeys, because whether you're into the NHL playoffs, the NBA playoffs, or Major League Baseball, Big Whiskeys is the perfect place to check it all out, because they have several big screens in the bar with unique cocktails and over 120 whiskeys on tap. Plus, we were supposed to get some good weather this week, so you can go out and enjoy their outdoor patio and game area. It's great for families, and the kids get to eat free every Tuesday. So check them out in the Stadium Trace Village off Highway 150 near the Hoover Met.
More three-man front on this Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. 119 Jocks 94.5. Coming up later this hour, we'll do some Pat Ponders brought to you by Courtesy GMC. I tell you guys every day about Alabama Professional Services, APS. You need to go to their website. They offer so much if you're a homeowner. I'm going to tell you about one specific thing today, and it's about your crawl space. And it's about that dangerous mold, mildew, wood rot that can happen when it has not been properly encapsulated, which means water is going to be able to get into that crawl space and cause all sorts of problems. So you need to call APS today, 205-951-9717. And they're going to come and they're going to take a look at your situation. And that crawl space, they can give you a plan on how to properly encapsulate it. It's going to stop the water. It's going to keep the pests out. It's going to lower your energy costs. So you're going to save money all the way around. Crawl space problems don't get better over time. They get better when you call APS, 205-951-9717. Go to their website, alabamaprofessional.com. Been around since 1977, helping the homeowner solve all of these issues. But I strongly recommend go to their website because they offer so much more than just that crawl space encapsulation, but your foundation. Take care of your largest investment you're ever going to have, which is your home. Call APS today, 205-951-9717. Back to the Courtesy GMC text line we go. You guys have been, as always, just outstanding as chiming in on a myriad of topics today on this Reaction Monday.
All righty, let's start off with Josh. Josh chimes in and says, they should let Donald Trump announce the first pick of the 2027 draft. That would be great. I would be surprised if he didn't do something like that. I would imagine that would be part of this. But maybe not. Let's see. Mike in Huntsville, he chimes in. He says, Jim Harbaugh was supposed to be suspended for 6 games, first 3 and last 3 of that season. Let's see. All right, Lee chimes in on the text line.
Has he already communicated with his wife?
He seems like he's dealing with a different situation as well. He says, I have a daughter who's 20. She is currently living with a man who is 54. This is a major conundrum in my life. I want to applaud Bill Belichick, but at the same time, I want to condemn him. Talk about a true dichotomy.
Now we don't know if this is the Lee that we talk to every day from Cincinnati.
I don't know. But I will say this Lee is also a Florida fan, as is Lee that just called in. So maybe you can clarify, Lee, and let us know if this is you're the one that just called in. But
so this individual on the text line says that he has a 20-year-old daughter?
Yes, who is living with a 54-year-old man.
Huh.
And it's a conundrum.
Any advice, Molly?
That personally isn't something that I would do. I'm just going to leave it at that. To each their own.
So Molly officially not in the market for someone 30 years old.
No, I am not.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, Lee. I don't I don't know what to tell you on that one, unfortunately. Let's see. Someone else texted in, said if there are any 20-somethings out there that feel they just have to date a 60-something-year-old, I'll bite the bullet. I'm reluctant to do so, however, as I know they'll want to do stuff after 8 p.m., and that's past my bedtime. I wonder what time Bill and Jordan eat dinner every night. Some tells me he doesn't go to sleep very early. Let's see. Sky chimes in. They say Kalen DeBoer lost to 3 unranked teams in his first season at Alabama. Nick Saban lost to 4 unranked teams in 14 seasons at Alabama. That stat alone tells me that Kalen DeBoer isn't quite the coach Conrad will have you believe. That's fair. I understand why people do not have a ton of optimism around Kalen DeBoer. I am choosing to have optimism, though, because we have seen him do much more than he did last year with much less from a talent perspective. But nothing is guaranteed. A lot of pressure this year. Let's see. What conversation would this have been? Somebody just asked, how about Oklahoma? I'm assuming that was back when we were doing our top 15 rankings, if Oklahoma is a team that we would have considered. I'm high on Oklahoma this year. I think they're going to be improved from last year, but I'm not ready to put them in a top 15 conversation. But I do think they'll be better. Do you think they'll be better? Are you expecting?
Yeah, no, I do think they'll be better.
Yeah, I think that's.
But their schedule.
Oh, their schedule is here. Let me pull it up real quick. Oklahoma's schedule for the last
Michigan at Alabama. They host Auburn.
Yeah, but if you look at their last 7 games, it's kind of like what we talked about with Florida last year, where you were just like, oh my gosh, you really don't have a break at any point. Okay, so this is your schedule if you're Oklahoma next year. Illinois State, Michigan, Temple, Auburn, Kent State, and then after that, these are the last 7 games in your schedule. Texas, at South Carolina, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Alabama, Mizzou, LSU.
Yeah, that's
Mizzou and Tennessee maybe don't scare you a whole lot right now. I don't know, but I think certainly those other 5, I think we would all agree that's going to be tough. That is going to be tough. But hey, if they they beat Alabama last year, you say they can't do it again this year. Let's see. Somebody said to help out Lee in his original debacle about the Kentucky Derby with his wife, suggest to Lee that he should just bet on the Preakness and Belmont this year, and if he hits, then that can make it up to his wife.
Take her on a trip.
Yep, there you go. I think that's a good suggestion there, Philip. Thank you for that. Okay, this is a bit of a longer question here. They ask, in the landscape of college football, do you think coordinators like a Kane Womack or Ryan Grubb would rather stay coordinator at a championship caliber program like Alabama rather than taking their shot at being a head coach at a smaller school that will inevitably be scavenged for talent more than ever before? For example, the Chiefs defensive coordinator who would rather stay there and win championships than rebuild a struggling franchise. What do you think about that? I think a lot of it has to do with the recruiting and all the just the stress and frustrations that come with head coach that a lot of these guys probably
I could see in regards to the Alabama coordinators, I could see Ryan Grubb being back in the NFL next year as a coordinator. And I could see Kane Womack as a major Division I head football coach somewhere. I don't know if the NFL is something that he has aspirations for. I think him having a taste of success at South Alabama. I mean, it was Alabama that came calling. That's why he left the job. But I think Kane Womack, if that defense, especially the second half of the season, if they put together the numbers that we think they're going to put together this year based on the guys that they have returning, I think Kane Womack is going to be a wanted commodity at a lot of schools that open up this year.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think some of the struggles that you had defensively in the first half of the season for Alabama may have, not saying they helped you out, but in the sense that if that defense played the way it did at the second half of the season all year long, I don't know if he's there anymore. I mean, they gave up, I think, 13 points a game on average the last 6 games of the regular season. They were stellar. They were certainly not the problem there. Let's see. Someone else chiming in from Huntsville. They say, going back to the Sherrone Moore thing, they say, yeah, Harbaugh was suspended for 6 games that year. If I remember, Jesse Minter was the coach for 3, and then Sherrone Moore was the coach for the second 3, including the Ohio State game, because that's when he was crying on the field afterwards, right? If I'm not mistaken, in his press conference where he was.
I'm just looking at a AP story about Sherrone Moore, and it says that Harbaugh was a 3-game suspension.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you have it.
Maybe it was 6, and maybe Harbaugh hired Tom Mars, and Tom Mars said I was going to sue everybody, and they cut it down to 3.
I do think that may have been part of it, because I do remember they were kind of going back and forth on like how many games he would be suspended, because I think he offered like a certain number, and then they kind of counter offered and I guess negotiated what his suspension would be. Let's see. We have somebody chiming in from Birmingham. They say, start off by saying, my favorite radio station is Jocks, but I've never heard y'all say anything good about the Athletics. But Pat, you better get ready because the A's are back. We've got a bunch of young players that are playing great right now. Just hope we don't trade them all off.
Well, you've got you'll be playing in Vegas in about 3 years. That will be an incredible stadium. You're +2 than what you were last year at this time. So, yeah, things are trending up. And you're playing in a bandbox in Sacramento that if you hit a lot of home runs, you should be fine.
Yeah, if I'm looking at it right now. Yep. If the Major League Baseball season ended today, the Oakland Athletic, or sorry, the whatever Athletics.
Just say Athletics.
Sorry, the Athletics, they would be in the postseason.
I'll let you call them the A's.
The A, I can be okay. Yeah, the A's would be a playoff team right now if the baseball season ended. Pretty wild stuff there, but appreciate all of y'all chiming in throughout the show. 205-834-9450. We still got another 30 minutes left if you have any comments you want to make, and we'll read them here on the show.
Absolutely. We'll do some Pat Ponders next, brought to you by Courtesy GMC. .133 on this Monday. Welcome in. It's three-man front. Jocks 94.5. Pat and Molly Conrad with you until 2 o'clock. Take you up to the Paul Feinbaum Show. We'll be live tomorrow at Social Taco. Come on by and see us. Doors open up officially at 11. Conrad, myself, and Landrum Roberts will be there. Come by and see us. We'll be located on the second floor there at the Taco Terrace. So come on by and see us. Each day I come up with some musings, some ponderings. We call it Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC. Brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Get by and see their outstanding inventory. Even their pre-owned inventory is through the roof. Go by and see them, located right off of I-459 exit 32 in Trustful. Visit their online inventory at courtesybirmingham.com. Question number 1. So there was an interesting suggestion I heard on a podcast over the weekend about the NFL draft. The host said that moving forward, Commissioner Goodell should mention every school the player has played for, not just the last team before he came to the draft. Is this a good suggestion or foolish?
I'm going to say foolish. I think what you should do in place is similar to the Hall of Fame, right? You played for multiple teams. You get to pick what team you're going to be retired as a member of. I think that would be a much better way to do it.
So, for instance, if Jalen Hurts, when he was being drafted,
correct,
if he said, hey, I want to be known, I love my time at Oklahoma. I was on there 1 year, but I won a national championship at Alabama.
Well, he was an Oklahoma player that weekend, Pat, because he wasn't a first-round pick, so. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Kidding.
But it would be his option to say, identify me as the University of Alabama,
correct,
not Oklahoma.
Yeah, like let him choose where he, I guess, identifies his college experience with.
See, it's foolish to me in the sense of saying a ton of schools, because what if you do have, I'm not saying he's going to be drafted, but like a TJ Finley situation where he's been to 5 or 6 schools.
Don't worry, Molly, he's not going to be drafted.
Well, no, I know, but I'm saying a situation like that. But I like Conrad's idea of, kind of let the athlete want to pick, I guess, where they're represented from. But no, just keep it to one.
You think the first round's long now?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. If you're and I mean, imagine 10 years from now when probably every player's transferred 3 times in their college career. It's just, let them pick let them pick.
All right, yesterday, the 151st running of the Roses at Churchill Downs took place. So I pondered, is it possible for a human to outrun a horse in a race?
No, no. How fast do horses run? They look like they were booking it on Saturday. Now, maybe if there's like a wounded horse that doesn't have, it has a hurt ankle or something, maybe, but I'm going to assume not.
Thoroughbred racehorses can run almost 44 miles per hour.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Now, Tyreek Hill or what's the...
Usain Bolt?
Usain Bolt.
No. He was the American track and field guy at the Olympics that
won the silver or bronze or whatever?
The one that him and Tyreek Hill have been trying to race each other for months. I can't remember his name, but like those guys would tell you they were faster than a horse, but they're not. They would convince themselves that they could outrun a horse probably, but
Noah Lyles.
Noah Lyles. Thank you, Molly.
How quickly we forget.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what happens
the
when
guy
you
that
don't
wants
win
to
a
race
gold.
Tyreek Hill. That's how I do him.
Well, Lyles had COVID, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Or he went swimming in the Poop River, one of the two in Paris.
Right.
According to Google, Usain Bolt ran roughly 27.79 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So no.
All right, I just wondered.
Maybe if they're at a trot. I don't know. Maybe the Clydesdales. I feel like those probably aren't very fast-moving horses. They're more elegant. Maybe you'd have a chance there. Or a donkey. Does a donkey count?
No.
Does it have shorter legs? A burro? Yeah, no. You're not outrunning a horse. Like to see someone try, though.
Question number 3. Is Jordan Hudson ruining Bill Belichick's legacy?
Not yet.
See, I don't want to say she's completely ruining it.
I'm going to say she's absolutely not right now, because here's the reality. Let's say they break up today. 5 years from now, are we going to look back at Bill Belichick and go, oh, that was the guy that dated the 24-year-old? Are we going to look back and go, that's the guy that has 6 Super Bowl trophies? Right. And I think time will heal a lot of things with this situation. It's just the fact that it's going on right now. And it's taken up so many headlines that it's easy to think, oh, this is going to mess up his legacy. Now, if it continues, it very well may. And if the North Carolina experiment's a disaster, sure. But
yeah,
I think in the long term, people are going to look back on him as that's the guy that had the dynasty with Tom Brady.
I agree with. I think in the grand scheme of things, it won't. But I think just because it's happening right now, and I think it'll be something too that people will kind of look back and laugh on. Like, oh, yeah, Bill Belichick. Remember his stint at North Carolina and that 24-year-old? That sort of thing.
Question number 4. Why do you think Cinco de Mayo is celebrated more in the United States than Mexico?
Is it? I'll be honest. I thought this was like a national holiday in Mexico. I don't know.
It's supposed to be, but apparently Americans celebrate more than Mexicans.
Well,
Indulgence?
Yes. And I think we can acknowledge as Americans, we enjoy taking things from other cultures and trying to make them our own. And something like this, where you have an excuse to go eat tacos and drink margaritas on a Monday. That's America, baby.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think Molly, we do like to.
We like to indulge.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And any excuse that you have to. Why is there
to do so?
Why is there a national everyday something? There every day is national something. Oh, well, I can go eat this or whatever. What about you, Pat? Why do you think it's more popular here?
I just think what Molly said about indulgence. Americans are always looking for a party.
Yep.
Always looking for a reason.
Well said.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we encourage you to go to Social Taco every Tuesday, because it is a party every Tuesday.
Yeah, don't go today for Cinco de Mayo. Go tomorrow.
No. Come tomorrow.
Don't go today.
No. I was curious. Does Cinco de Mayo fall on us next year at Social Taco?
It does.
I'm looking.
Well, unless it's a leap year. And then I guess it skips a day.
Yeah. Next year.
There you go.
Go ahead and buy
Taco.
your tickets. We'll get Don to print out tickets. You can start selling them tomorrow for next year's event.
Standing room only.
Imagine how big that thing might have grown by next year. Comparison to how much it's grown over the last year. We might have the whole restaurant packed out.
That will be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
Very cool. All right, our final question of the day comes from our good friend BB.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
Who called in earlier in the program. Hope to see her and you tomorrow at Social Taco. And one of the questions that she posed was, everyone has a fantasy about what he or she wanted to be in life, whether a rock star, a Supreme Court justice, celebrity chef, or a sports legend. Many of us don't share this personal dream, but what is the one fantasy you have carried throughout your life? Keep it clean, Conrad.
Yeah, I know. Not that kind of fantasy.
See, when I was a kid and growing up, dancing and then performing arts, my first dream job, or I guess fantasy, was I wanted to be on Broadway. Like, I wanted to be in Wicked. Like, I wanted to be Glinda or Les Mis, something like that. Or like Phantom of the Opera. Like, I couldn't sing, but I just wanted to be like on stage somewhere.
Yeah, mine as a kid, I wanted to be the catcher for the Yankees and live in New York and, be the, captain of the Yankees and carry on the torch from Derek Jeter or Aaron Judge now, I guess, whatever. And obviously that was very apparent early on in my life that was not going to happen for me because I was not some child prodigy.
You never know.
At baseball. But that was the one that I held on to until I was, I guess, in high school and really started to realize, this isn't happening for me. But now, in terms of something that I still hold on to now, not to be corny, but this is what this was my dream growing up. This is what I wanted to do outside of playing sports. Yeah. So, and that's serious. I'm not just saying that. Like, this was my dream, was to talk about sports. And so I'm very fortunate that I get to do that. What about you, Pat? What was your childhood? You want to play for the Cardinals?
Yeah, that was my first option. But that didn't work out. So my second was doing what we're doing now. Very early age.
Maybe your dreams won't come true, but your second dream, it can
there
come
you
true.
go.
There you go. That is today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC in Trussville, courtesybirmingham.com. A few more minutes left to go. We'd love to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX. Courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. 13 minutes in front of the hour. We'll take you up to the Paul Feinbaum Show right here on Jox 94.5. The Cincinnati Reds are in Atlanta the next 4 days, taking on the Atlanta Braves. Should be a good series. Get things started tonight at 6 o'clock. You can hear Barrett Slee on the pregame show right here on Jox 94.5. So at the Senior Bowl Charity Celebrity Golf Classic on Monday.
That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is. Senior Bowl Charity Celebrity Golf Classic. Nate Oates was in attendance, and he gave a quote to AL.com about the upcoming 2025-26 season and the current pieces that are in place. And he sounds pretty bullish about how well they are going to be as a shooting team. This is a direct quote. We're going to have a really good shooting team, maybe the best shooting team since I've been there. There's shooting everywhere.
That's a good sign.
Our bigs can shoot. Everybody in the front court, really, there's not a non-shooter on the floor. So we should have shooting everywhere. Our defense is going to have to get a little bit better, but we're going to have good versatility and good shooting next year.
Sign me up for that. He was also asked about LeBaron Philon and his process through the NBA draft and what's going on with that. And quote from Nate Oates there, he says, I'm sure it'll be a great success story. He comes in, he's not on anybody's draft board, plays well for us, and ends up getting drafted after a year with us at Alabama. That's the plan right now, end quote. So seems like everything's going according to plan with Philon, and he is ultimately going to stay in the NBA draft. And I mean, it's certainly not a bad recruiting tool when you can flip a recruit late in the cycle like they did with Philon, insert him into the lineup, and a year later he's going to play and getting selected in the draft. I would love for him to come back, but I get it. It helps the program.
Molly's favorite college football coach, not Matt Rule.
James Franklin.
Scott Frost.
Oh.
His contract details have been released by Central Florida.
Is he working pro bono?
No, he's not. He's guaranteed an annual compensation of $3.9 million this fall. His salary will go up to $4.1 million next year, $4.4 million in 2027, $4.6 million in 2028, and in 2029 it will be $5 million for Scott Frost. And if he makes any type of bowl game, he will get a big bump as well.
So he's making more than Sean Miller at Texas?
Yes, he is.
That's my takeaway from that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, imagine being able to be so bad and you get a job paying you $5 million a year.
I know.
After a nice little vacation.
So when he took over in his first stint at Central Florida, he made $1.7 million.
America.
That's what I'm saying.
Man, being a good and then really bad college football coach, that's the dream. That actually, going back to Pat Ponders, that's my dream now as an adult. Let me be a Power 4 college football coach for 2 years, tank the program, and get a $20 million buyout. Yeah, never work again.
So his first 3 games of this upcoming season, he's got Jacksonville State.
Okay.
Charles Kelly, new head coach of the Gamecocks. North Carolina A&T, which is an FCS school, and Bill Belichick.
Yes.
And then they start their Big 12 schedule in Manhattan, Kansas.
Who will you be rooting for in that one? Bill or Scott?
Probably Scott.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I said it when they hired him. I truly wish him well. I wish him the best.
Yeah, but we didn't think you actually meant it. We thought you were just saying that publicly.
No,
I mean it.
Is that dartboard still hanging up in your apartment?
That's that voodoo
No, I
doll.
took that down a while ago.
She's got a voodoo doll of Scott Frost down in the office.
Oh, that's what it is now?
I do not.
Does it work?
No.
Oh, not anymore.
Not anymore.
It was a Nebraska voodoo
It was
doll.
in
We got to get a new one now.
Yeah. Back to the text lines we go at 205-834-9450. It's been a great day reading text messages. Don't know what Landrum's missed today.
Yeah, hopefully he had a good time at the museum today since his neighbor told us he wasn't at home today. So we'll get the full story from him tomorrow.
P-Town.
That's right, from P-Town. Okay, well, we're going to have to watch this later, but Steve texted in a YouTube link. He says, this man beat a horse in a 40-yard dash. Okay.
No, say that again.
Steve sent in a link to a YouTube video. I haven't watched it yet, but it says, this man beat a horse in a 40-yard dash. I guess I didn't think about maybe short distances. The horse takes a minute to get going. I don't know. Can't read that one, Dave, and you know I can't read that one. So I'm making a joke about Nate Oates' comments. Connect the dots on that one. We have Josh who chimes in. He says, as someone who has a native Mexican girlfriend, she says Mexico doesn't really celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and it's a relatively small holiday in Mexican culture. Let's see. Where was it? I saw someone else said that a big part of it they think is the way it's promoted here in the United States. Like it's a pretty big deal in a lot of places. We were even talking, Molly was asking, I might go try to find some, Mexican food for dinner tonight. And she went and found a deal in like 30 seconds for free chips and queso.
They're everywhere.
So that's kind of how that works. Let's see. Someone says there are man versus horse races all over the world. There's one in Prescott, Arizona. It's 22 miles long and the humans often win.
See, you guys were laughing when I even brought it up.
And I knew there was going to be some way, whether it was a short distance, long distance, whatever.
Yeah.
Where it would even out. That's interesting. Okay, so horses wouldn't do well in a marathon, I guess, is what we're learning. Okay, interesting. Someone else saying the answer to the Cinco de Mayo question and the Bill Belichick question is both marketing. There you go. Let's see. Can't read that one. I can't read it. It's funny, but I can't read it.
Those are my favorites.
They are good. Mike texts in. He says, have you seen where Jordan allegedly forced her way into that Dunkin' Donuts commercial with Bill Belichick and Ben Affleck, the Super Bowl one?
Wasn't that the first time that they really did? I mean, of course, we didn't even know who it really was, right? When we saw the commercial.
That was the first, I guess, public thing of them together, like in that kind of a situation. Because the mermaid pictures were before that, right?
Yes,
those were last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. Let's see. Someone says, in terms of distance, humans can outrun almost any animal. Look at ultra marathon runners. Okay, I didn't know there were ultra marathons. Someone else says, yes, humans can beat horses in 40-yard dashes. Let's see. Man, the last time this guy texted in is him blaming me for the loss to Oklahoma. He now chimes in today. It says, there's an endurance race where a man races a horse and the man wins the majority of the time. People can dissipate heat more efficiently and are better endurance runners than horses. Man, I did not know.
Learn something new every day.
Didn't know this. Never would have guessed this. Conrad Van Chaos texts and he says, how great was it hearing BB say, what if she had a beef burrito man on her arm? That was a good line. That was a good line from BB. Let's see. Someone says, years ago, Chris Collinsworth tried to outrun a horse in Cincinnati. It was laughable. Okay. Let's see. Someone says, what's y'all's favorite drink of choice in honor of Cinco de Mayo? Mine would be Jack and Coke.
On Cinco de Mayo?
Yeah, I don't know. Margarita. Oh, mine's Miami Vice. Love Miami Vice. And then Josh Smith chimes in. He says, oh God, never mind. I can't read that one either. Thank you for the text. Some of these were very creative. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, great text, Josh. Very funny. Appreciate all y'all chiming in throughout the show.
Absolutely. Appreciate you tuning us in on this Reaction Monday. Lange will be back with us tomorrow live from Social Taco from 10 until 2. Come on by and see us. Located on the second level, the Taco Terrace. Mike Griffith will be one of our featured guests tomorrow. Mike always brings the heat during that interview. The Paul Feinbaum Show is next. Have a great Monday afternoon.